Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? I spent a lot of time yesterday studying my college, my pro, after last week. So the biggest thing I noticed was like the mistake on the Colorado State game where Colorado was a Z team, but when I looked at it, they had played USC. And USC beat them like 63-7. So I thought Colorado would also put up a big 60 on them based on what USC did. But we realized Colorado is not that strong as we thought. And obviously Colorado State isn't that weak as we thought. But it was a good comparison. But now Colorado State's not a Z. So I've been going through looking at the matchups. So let's quickly go through the college line and then we can dive into the games. I got about 10 games that I really like posted. Just a second. All right. Oh, there he is there. So let's go through the lines and then we can go through that. So I'm still frustrated with my guy. He makes the bets. He doesn't get the college lines totals. So like tomorrow, I'm like, fuck, we need to get a new sports book that all the lines are already out. Fucking on Monday. Costing us money. All right, we got Coastal Carolina 6.5, 62.5. We got Wisconsin 5.5, 53.5. NC State 9.5, 48.5. That line went up a little. The total. Boise 7, 45. The Air Force 3.5, 46.5. Syracuse 13.5, 51.5. Marshall 5.5, 41.5. Florida State 2.5, 55.5. Not a lot of movement. Michigan 24, 44.5. All right, Michigan 24, 44.5. Oklahoma 14.5, 57.5. Where's Oklahoma? That's down from 60. I'm telling you, Oklahoma looks like a good defensive team this year. They go with their offense. Gabriel's still lighting it up. Kentucky 13.5, 50.5. TCU 6.5, 63.5. Northern Illinois 3.5, 53.5. Northern Illinois, yeah. Troy 3.5, 58.5. Nothing's really moving. A&M 7.5, 51.5. A&M. Up, well, no, it's the same. Toledo 20.5, 54.5 over Western Michigan. Georgia Southern 6.5, 60.5. Miami 23.5, 49.5. Very little change. Texas Tech 6.5, 54.5. UMass actually favored over a team 3.5, 49.5. Louisville 13.5, 54.5. Duke 21.5, 45.5. Kansas 9.5, 54.5. Illinois 15.5, 45.5. Utah 4.5, 51.5. Hasn't changed. I would anticipate Rising not playing. Utah's not going to score a lot with the great defense. UCLA brings in the new quarterback, and they're not going to light up Utah. This is not going to be high scoring. And UCLA's defense has been playing very well. Oregon 21, 70.5. We'll talk about that. Ohio 12.5, 44.5. Maryland 7.5, 52.5. Big Nebraska 19.5, 47. What are they? The goals back there. They're running Todd Osborne's offense all of a sudden. Alabama 7, 55.5. Tennessee 20.5, 58.5. Rice favorite over South Florida. Played Alabama pretty good game. 2.5, 58.5. Iowa State 3.5, 36.5. South Alabama 15.5, 49.5. Jacksonville State 6.5, 53.5. Wake 3.5, 59.5 over Georgia Tech. Liberty 10.5, 53.5. Southern Miss 6.5, 48.5. Arizona 11.5, 59.5. Oregon State 2.5, 56.5. Texas State 17.5, 59.5 over Nevada. LSU 17.5, 54.5 against Arkansas. Florida 27.5, 49.5 over Charlotte. Wyoming 2.5, 42.5 over App State. Middle Tennessee State 3.5, 53.5 against Colorado State. Houston 12.5, 38.5 against Sam Houston, who played BYU 14-0, which you don't know what to think now that we see BYU put up a 30 on Arkansas. This must be the steel curtain here. Georgia 41.5, 54.5 over UAB. South Carolina 6.5, 49.5 over Old Mississippi State. Indy 16.5, 46.5 over Akron. Minnesota 11.5, 38.5 over Northwestern. Missouri 5.5, 51.5 against Memphis. Texas 14.5, 51.5 against Baylor. Shapen's out, the quarterback. Lou Lafayette 8.5, 59.5 against Buffalo. Game of the week, Ohio State 3.5, 55.5. That's up from 54.5 against Notre Dame. Again, that's the free pick, is go over there under in the Georgia game. That's your free teaser. Penn State 14.5, 40.5 against Iowa. North Carolina 7.5, 15.5 against Pitt. James Madison 6.5, 52 to Utah State. K-State 5.5, 52.5 to UCF. Plumlee's out, their quarterback. UNLV 2.5, 49.5 over UTEP. USC 35.5, 61.5 to Arizona State. Washington 21.5, 60 to Cal. Fresno State 27.5, 50 to Kent State. And Hawaii 3, 57.5 to our New Mexico State. Very, very interesting. So let's go through the process. There's all these games, right? There's over teams, there's under teams. Top 10 teams, bottom 10 teams, teams off of a loss, teams off of a win, big win. So the question is, how do we take, what do we got? 65 games. Can't bet them all. Although some of you guys want to bet them all. So how do we do this? My pens. So how do we sit there and go, this is the game I want to bet on? That's a very question. And a very tough, it's a very tough question to answer, because inevitably there's games we like that we don't bet on. And we go, why don't we bet on it? Or there's a game we lock, but we don't know why we locked that game instead of this game. So there's a lot of that goes on as we're picking. So for example, well, let's go through it. So Georgia State, Coastal Carolina, you got McCall. Georgia State is a B team. Are they really a B team? That's the other thing. They play all these Division II games. Or in the case of Georgia State, they might play USC or Washington or Ohio State versus, New Mexico, Liberty. So how do we really know how good or bad these teams are? Forgive me for eating, but I haven't eaten yet. And I just got back from the pool, so I am mighty hungry. And if you don't want me to fall asleep, and I don't want to fall asleep right now, then that's what you have. So if we look at it, what is our big criteria? So we want to bet on strength and we want to bet against weakness. We're looking for two good over teams or two good under teams with the right line. So if we go to if we look down the list and we go to Georgia UAB and we see Georgia's laying 41. It's a big number. You don't normally win by 41. Over under though of 54. That's a big, looking at it in teaser world, that's 60. Georgia under 60. That's okay. That's a lot better than like what Iowa plays Penn State in, where's that game? And that spread's 40. So if I want to go under in the Iowa Penn State, it's only 46. But if I want to go under in the Georgia game, it's 60. That's a big difference to go over under. Like Michigan, we've been doing 60s the last few weeks, and those games have ended in the 30s. I mean, it's been a no-brainer to take a Michigan under versus an Iowa State was 40 last week, I think, or 42. But that Iowa State game went down. We bet it at 39, went down to 37. Now you're under 43. That's a big difference in your, under than a 60 in a Georgia game or a 60 in a Michigan game. So you're kind of looking for the best team with the best line or the worst team, but again, with the best line. You're looking for weak favorites or strong dogs. What does that mean, Howard? Well, all right, let's go to a game. A weak favorite, Kansas, 9.5 over BYU. After watching BYU beat Arkansas, and apparently Getting 14 on Sam Houston was a good thing. We like their quarterback Slovis, but then we see Kansas, who we love, against Nevada, who sucks, and they only score 35 on them and give up 29. So now we realize Kansas is not that strong. They're a good over team, but even that didn't show up against Nevada. So I don't think they're a strong favorite. And here they're laying 9.5. So I get a strong BYU team who just beat Arkansas, getting 15.5 from a team that barely beat Nevada. So even if Kansas wins, they're not going to win by 15 predicted outcome or projected outcome, which is all you can do. So we can kind of figure BYU played Arkansas, they win, they're getting 9.5 from a Kansas team who can score, doesn't have a good defense, which we know, but I don't like Daniels, their quarterback. They're better with Bean. I'm not worried about Daniels beating them. They played Jefferson, who's a better quarterback than Daniels, and they held him. So with that in check, I've got a strong dog in BYU, and I got a weak favorite in Kansas. So with that said, it's a good dog to play. You've got a dog that more likely can win the game against a favorite that really isn't strong defensively, Kansas. And BYU just won at Arkansas, so there's the proof. See, that's where we get a little bit lost the first few weeks. We get these teams that we get out statistic because it's, the Citadel, they win 52-0. We think, oh, they're a good offense, good defense. And they play a team like Illinois and lose 35-10. So the numbers, when you average them out, get skewed. And, so it's really not the team you're thinking of betting. So what I had to do, which I've been busy doing, is kind of, if you go on to Scores and Odds, so let's say I click on Hawaii, right? So I can click on Hawaii. Well, let's say Kent State. How good and bad is Kent State? They're playing Fresno State. So I can look at them, and then I can see who they played to analyze it. And I go, well, UCF beat them 56-6, but then Arkansas only beat them 28-6. So they don't really score. And then they beat Central Connecticut 38-10. So it's skewing their numbers. You go, oh, look, they have a decent offense. No, they don't have a good offense. UCF and Arkansas, now they're good teams. They only put up 6 points. They gave up 56 to UCF, 28 to Arkansas. Okay. And forget this. So they're basically a Z team, Kent State. And we go back to the game we're looking at, and we've got Kent State, Fresno State. So you basically got a Z team in Kent State. They're not going to score. Fresno State should light it up. They're laying 27.5 and 50. Well, do I go over or under with the game? Well, I know Fresno State will probably put up about 40. Kent State puts up 6 against good teams, so they're not going to score. So I'm not really going to get help there. So maybe I go Fresno State minus 21, figuring, well, they'll score 40 and Kent State won't score. They'll score 6. Central Connecticut is a Division II, and they only put up 30 on. So that's where you kind of break it out. You kind of throw out the Central Connecticut game. And so then you get the average of they score 60 and give up about 40. And then you got Fresno State. So you look at Fresno. Now we know Fresno State beat Purdue, which is really the one game to focus on. So they beat Purdue 39-35. Then Eastern Washington we throw out, and then they beat Arizona State 29-0. So they're going to score about 32 points, and we're not sure. Arizona State's got a really bad offense. Purdue's got a good one. So it doesn't tell us a whole lot. They'll probably give up 20, but then we look at, Kent's offense is terrible. So if I look here, I have Kent. I do have them as a Z team. So even with that, the statistics show they're a Z team. So they're not going to score a lot. And we see against UCF and Arkansas, they give up about 35 points. So it's about 35-6. So here we're laying 27, which is right about in there, and a 50. Or do we go under? Do we say, Kent can't score? Fresno State's got a fairly good defense. Well, let's see. Beating Arizona State 29-0 is nothing. But then against Purdue, it was 39-35. And then they played Eastern Washington, which we kind of throw out, but we look at the score, and it was 34-31. And they're kind of a run and shoot type of running quarterback type of team for Division II. So they gave up 35 to Purdue and 31 to Eastern, but Arizona State has injuries. Their quarterback's out. And so then so that doesn't really help us too much. Can they get – so basically are we asking, can Fresno State get to 44? Because in a teaser, 50 goes to 44 or 50 goes to 56. What are you more comfortable with? You're not going to get a lot of help from Kent, but the number's 27. Do you lay 20? So these are all the decisions you're trying to make. However, going through the analysis, we now pick up, wait a minute, they beat Arizona State 29-0. So we're not really sure on that game, but then we go to the Arizona State game, and USC's 35 and over-under is 61. And we go, well, wait a minute, Arizona State sucks. They just got shut out by Fresno State, and here comes USC, who lights everybody up, is going to put up 50 points on this team. Arizona State's quarterback's out. So now how one game leads to another. We say, well, wait, Arizona State sucks. USC's laying 35, but we know how they are. They'll put up 50, 60 points. It's a conference game. Arizona State has no offense. You can't go under in a USC game. So you could go under 67. You're not going to make any money betting under in USC games or Washington games and stuff like that. So then it might lead you to take USC minus 29 because you go, well, I know they're going to score. Arizona State can't score on Fresno State. So that's the way the method works. So you can kind of, so what you're trying to do is get rid of the division, like here, the Division II game. And you just like Fresno State, score 35, give up 17 on average. Again, at Purdue 35, but against Arizona State. Is Kent State an offensive team? No, they can't score. So it's going to be probably 29-0 like the Arizona State's game was. And it's at Fresno. So I see Fresno winning 42-0 because, they'll start rolling. This is Saturday night in Fresno. It's one of these 10 o'clock games. It's the 10:30 game. So Kent State's going to be asleep because they're from I think I don't know if they're in Ohio or Kentucky. They're a MAC school, and they got to go to the West Coast, play a 10:30 game, which means they'll be sleeping. And Fresno State's just, they're going to keep piling it on. So I would not look at the total in this game. I would look at Fresno State minus 21 and say, Yeah, I think they'll get into the 30s, and I don't think Kent State scores. Now, is Kent State going to pull a Tyler Van Dyke on us, and now they switch quarterbacks, and this guy's Joe Montana who comes off the bench because the coach realizes, well, the starter I got, he only gets me 6 points a game. So I got to get rid of the starter and go to my third string quarterback because I'm too stupid to realize he's really good. I'll never forget that Miami Hurricanes. They kept starting De'Aaron King from Houston, who sucked, and he had a bad knee. For the first 3 games, they got that guy out there. I think he hurts his knee or something. And who comes off the bench? Van Dyke. And you're like, see, he's playing King because he's the senior. And he's got the experience, which means the coach is an idiot. It's not what you look for. You look for the best player. You don't care about experience. That's the problem with the NFL. They'd rather have Davis Mill because he's experienced than go to, draft a Caleb Williams or something. Oh, we got even look at Fields. Now, my guess is they tried to trade Fields and nobody wanted him. I remember reading that, Fields will be the MVP this year. Yeah, he ain't going to win a game. Again, when are they going to learn? The worst team in the league is Houston. And their quarterback is, I keep forgetting who has who. Their quarterback is C.J. Stroud, Ohio State quarterback. So the worst 2 teams are the Ohio State quarterbacks, Fields and Stroud. How they're letting Richardson run is beyond me because he can't pass. How the defensive coordinators don't understand blitz the running quarterbacks. What part of this do we not understand? So if Dallas blanketed Jones. So when they play these guys, if Dallas plays them, they're going to shut them all out because they know how to play them, and that's exactly what you need to do. And the Niners probably also. These other teams are too stupid to understand what to do against them. But that's what you start doing. How do I figure out the game? And the big key is looking at common type opponents. So if you play Baltimore, you get Lamar. So you're going to play that the same way you're going to play Richardson, and the same way you're going to play Hurts, and the same way you're going to play Daniel Jones and all these running quarterbacks. So once you beat one, you're going to beat them all. The teams that struggle against them, sort of like Houston here, is going to struggle against all of them because they don't have the concept down of putting pressure on the quarterback and not letting him get away because he can't read. And they haven't understood the concept they can't read. Now, either the defensive coordinators are fucking idiots or they don't have the personnel or a combination of both to get somebody to the quarterback. And then you got a big problem with the GM because he doesn't know how to draft defense. But that's what you're looking for. So if you can beat USC, you can beat UCLA, you can beat Oregon, you can beat Washington. All right. So as we go down the list, so do we play Wisconsin-Purdue? Wisconsin's 5.5, 54.5. They went to Washington State and had trouble. Purdue lost to Fresno State at home. They seem to be an over team, so they'll score. Their defense is weak, just like usual. Wisconsin has the good defense, not the great defense. Washington State did not have a problem against this defense. Keep that in mind. Remember that. So therefore, is Purdue going to have a trouble with it? They play him every year. Now you have Mordecai. But when I looked at Mordecai's numbers, I think he only has 1 or 2 touchdown passes. I saw the Washington State game. He had a lot of long passes, but they weren't touchdowns. Then they have that good running back who, when they get inside the 5, they hand it to him. He gets the touchdowns. As I said, you can only win if you can run the ball inside the 10-yard line. You cannot win passing the ball inside the 10. That's why passing teams never win the Super Bowl or anything else, because once you get inside that red zone, inside the 15, 10-yard line, the defense doesn't have anywhere to go. And you can throw pylon passes and post corners and all that. Good fucking luck, because the defense is right there, and then you can't scramble around to get in. But if you have a nice running back, they can't stop it anyway. Off you go, which always was the mystery why Seattle did not hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch, and instead Russell Wilson threw the interception. We always wonder what went through Coach Pete's mind to call that stupid play, and even more so, why Russell Wilson didn't audible out of it, because it was clear it wasn't going to be open. But that's another story. So first, let's go look at dogs. Let's go through the games. NC State, 9.5 for Virginia. Virginia's a W. I don't want them as a dog. Air Force, 3.5 over San Jose State. San Jose State's an overteam. Air Force just killed an overteam Utah State. I don't like San Jose State. Boise, 7 over San Diego State. Maybe I like San Diego State, but they don't score much. But I got a good defense. Maybe it's an under game because they have the good defense and they don't score. We need to check Boise. But Boise has been skewed because they got killed by Washington, 65-10. So their defense looks like shit. So then we have to say, okay, let's look at Boise, not against the Washington, but it happened. So you really can't. What do you do with it? You can throw out Division II games. You can't throw out they lost to Oklahoma or USC or Washington. Auburn A&M 7.5. Auburn, the big one was against UMass. Otherwise, they've played nothing. That tells me they're a strong road dog that they're going to win the game. I only want a road dog I think can win the game, not keep it close. Not, if I'm thinking they're going to keep it close, but they can't win, I'm not betting them. I only want teams that I know can win the game. Kentucky, Vanderbilt. Kentucky laying 14 is a big number. Do I want Vandy in 20? Not really. Syracuse, 13 over Army. Army is a very good dog. They just beat UTSA. Syracuse has been on fire against nobody. So maybe Army in 20 is a good play here. We kind of put a little maybe. Marshall, Virginia Tech. Marshall, 5, Virginia Tech. This is a beautiful under game because neither team, I can't trust Marshall here. And I don't trust Virginia Tech to win. But you know what? They both have strong defenses. So, this is a good under game. So that's where you try to work the pieces and go, well, it's a terrible, can Virginia Tech win? Maybe. Marshall's really good, but I know it'll be low scoring because Virginia Tech can't score. That's where having the Hartman and the Van Dykes come in, and the Risings and these guys, it'll be a real interesting spread. USC Notre Dame, especially if Notre Dame beats Ohio State. I don't understand why Ohio State's favored in the game when they really, They had a good game last week against Western Kentucky, who's not a bad team. They're an A team in Conference USA. But now all of a sudden, Ohio State's favored at Notre Dame. That don't make any sense. So I'll be curious if Notre Dame's favored in that game. Then I can take Caleb Williams as the dog or the over-under, depending on if it's in the 60s. So you're really trying to figure that one out. Like, that's who you want as the dog, Caleb Williams, right? You want Washington as the dog. So Washington plays Oregon. One of them's going to be the dog. USC plays Washington. One of them's going to be the dog. USC, UCLA, USC and UCLA play Utah. We got that this week. We got UCLA getting 10.5 with the new quarterback, who's pretty good. Utah still without Rising. So that's what those are the kind of teams we want as dogs or weak favorites. So we'll kind of do both. So Syracuse is good. Okay, Marshall, are they a weak favorite? We don't know enough. We feel this is a good under game. Northern Illinois, 3 over Tulsa. Okay, Northern Illinois, not a great favorite, but Tulsa's a W per se. Now, we'd have to verify it by, but if they played a USC, or I think they played Oklahoma and they lose 68-10, they're still a W team. You can't take that game away because that was against the Division I power and they got killed. So obviously they're in trouble. Northern Illinois, a weak favorite. I wouldn't take them to win. Tulsa, I don't think I'd like them in 9. So it's just like, okay, move on. Now you got Oklahoma 14 over Cincy. Oklahoma, strong offense. We don't know what happened in the SMU game, 28-11. We're still like scratching our head. What the fuck was that? Here they go against Cincinnati, who just lost to Miami of Ohio. Not Miami of Florida, Miami of Ohio. Were they looking ahead? This is a conference game now because Cincinnati is now in the Southwest Conference. And so was Cincinnati looking ahead? Absolutely. They had just beaten Pitt, a rival. And now here comes Oklahoma in. They're a huge home dog. Oklahoma's 14-point favorites. So you get 20 with Cincinnati. But do we think Cincinnati can win the game? I like their quarterback. Emory Jones was at Florida, and he wasn't really that good there. Now he's at Cincinnati. Oklahoma has been killing people at will. Even the SMU game, they won 28-11. They won by 17. So they're showing signs of a defense. Statistically, Oklahoma's an A team, strong offense, strong defense. I mean, SMU, they beat them 28-11. It's not like they lost to them, and it's not even close. And holding SMU to 11 is unbelievable. I mean, you can't do that. So I think Oklahoma is really strong defensively this year, a lot stronger than people might think from last year. Cincinnati, you just lost to Miami of Ohio, and you barely beat Pitt, who just lost to West Virginia. So you beat a bad Pitt team. So I don't think Cincinnati can win this game. So do I want 20 points? Not really. I don't know that can happen. So that leaves me, if I don't want 20, maybe I want Oklahoma -8. So again, Oklahoma is a strong favorite, but Cincinnati is not a strong dog in this game. So I want to stay away from them and just stick with probably Oklahoma -8. Michigan Rutgers. I don't even look at the points. Point spread's 24. Rutgers to me is not a strong dog in the game. I immediately go to the over-under because Michigan's been playing unders and going, well, Rutgers strong defense. This will be another 35-7 game. So again, it's 45. I go under 51. I feel pretty comfortable in the 50s with Michigan. Now this is where the difference between the Georgia at 54 is under 60 and the Michigan at 45 is under 50. Then if I go to the Iowa State game, it's like in the 30s. And then you struggle going, oh, now, wait a minute. Now it's getting almost too low. Even though it should be an under game, you get kickoff returns and pick sixes. You get points besides your offense, which makes it a little more difficult. But in this case, I do like Michigan. I like the game under. I don't trust Rutgers, although they're playing good defense. Shiano is back, but I can't trust. I certainly don't want them in 30. Michigan at home. This is a game they win. They'll be a little scared. It's a conference game. And Rutgers isn't terrible. So, quite the lunch I got. Avocado salad with tuna and a steak. Okay, so with all that said, we understand the team Michigan is very good defensive team. They don't really light it up, a lot like Georgia. So when you see a Michigan game, your first tendency is if they're not playing Ohio State or Penn State, we're looking at the under. If they are playing Ohio State and Penn State, we're looking at the score, and we're at Penn State, we're taking the dog against Ohio State. I don't know. I had Ohio State as the dog last year, and they ran them over. So I don't, I'm so confused by that game. But normally I'm looking over under on Michigan games, on Georgia games, Iowa games, Iowa State. It's what's the total and can I bet it under? That's normally what I'm looking at. Even Iowa State, Oklahoma, Iowa State, Texas, Iowa State, TCU, it's under. It's just who they are. They must play a two-deep zone and just get pressure on the quarterback. It's all the scheme, and it's you can't score on them. You cannot score a lot of points in Iowa State, so it's always an under. But Iowa State doesn't give you points either. They run the ball and punt and play field position. Their quarterback usually sucks, and the runners are usually very good. And so they just power you. They just run it down your throat and play defense, a nice Army-Navy type of game, which keeps the score under, which is what they do. Florida State, Clemson, beautiful game here. Florida State, as Bobby knows, beat LSU. Now you're at Clemson, and they're the favorites. Why are they the favorites? We would love Clemson to be the favorite here, but we don't have the right team favored. So what do we do? Do we do anything? Hey, Todd. How was the dentist? Huh. You're welcome, Todd. Yeah, those are very, very strong picks, and I feel so bad about last week's abortion that I'm not fucking around this week. I've been studying hard, and I'm being very – the problem is I tend to hurry my picks because of the stupid over-unders. And then I'll miss a strong play because I've ran, looking at the Notre Dame game. Okay, I didn't mind playing that. The Colorado game was a stupid play because Colorado State had lost to USC 70-7. So it skewed their stats. And that was the only game they played. So it looked like they were a real bad defensive team. Colorado should light them up. Now, they are a bad defensive team, and Colorado did light them up, but Colorado doesn't have a defense. And I didn't think Colorado State would be able to score that much on them. But I'm not fucking around with games like that. So now I go right to the whip, and I go, okay, the first Ohio State Notre Dame spread over was 64, and I was contemplating over that. Next thing I know, it dropped 10 points, which makes no sense. At 54, all we need is 48 in that game. Are you fucking kidding me? They're not going to stop Ohio State, and they're not going to stop Hartman. So I look at the North Carolina State game. They put up 49 on NC State's defense, which is much better than Ohio State's. And Notre Dame isn't really – they gave up 17 to Central. They're not going to stop Ohio State. I think Notre Dame wins the game. I think they're a home dog. I think that's a joke. I don't know why Ohio State's favored. That makes no sense. That's just Ohio State's more popular than Notre Dame, if you believe that, which I'm not sure. And they're not giving enough credit to Hartman. Hartman's like 15 touchdowns and no interceptions, and it's going to keep going at Notre Dame. I just see it being a higher scoring game, but I would also take Notre Dame as the home dog, especially a home dog versus the road dog. A home dog like Notre Dame, is Ohio State that good? The quarterback's struggling. Is the defense that good? But they have enough talent that they should be able to score in the 20s on Notre Dame, and Notre Dame gets in the 30s or 40s here. And then the other game under, Georgia under, is just, what am I going to say? That's the play every week. Even against Tennessee, it was the play. It's always the play because you can't even get a first down on Georgia, and they run the ball. They're beautiful. They're a beautiful under team because they don't put up 60 points. They're not USC. So I thought that was the most like. Now, I had Georgia lock last week and this very strong play this week. So this lock is very strong. I do have another lock out there that I found. Very excited about. And I found about 10 strong college games, just trying to slow down, do your homework, do your research, just be patient and let it come to you. And that's when I'm very strong. So, it's just, I had a great week 2, hitting all 5 locks, all 4 free games. And sometimes that gets to you. You get a little complacent or you make the same picks and they just don't, it's just the nature of the beast that sometimes the same picks lose and sometimes they win. Todd, I'm still comfortably numb. I agree totally. Fresno State at home, Kent State is a Z team. Yeah, and they really are. Like I said, sometimes the Z team's not a Z team, but in this case, they really are. So at this, I don't think it's the Z teams that are wrong as much as maybe the over teams are wrong, where a middle of the road team plays, Brother Rice High School and wins 65-0. And then I go, oh, they're an over team or they're a high scoring team. And they're not. It's just against the high school they are, but they're not playing a high school team this week. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I do have another lock. I can't think of what it is. Who's my other lock? Oh, I think you're my other lock. I don't know. It's already posted, and then I have one pro play with the college that's already posted. So I'm being very, very okay. Now it's time to post. And as G said, it's time for revenge this week, and I'm very, very pissed off. And I pick very well when I'm pissed off. All right, so what do we do? Florida State, Clemson, 2.5. Is Clemson strong enough to be the dog here? Are they a good home dog? And they've been playing well, but let's go to the game. Let's see. We know they got their ass kicked by Duke 28-7. So we love Duke because Duke's really underrated. But let's go. Let's see what Clemson's up to. They're the home dog because they lost to Duke. Have they beaten anybody? Come on. All right, so let's take a look at Clemson. Can we bet them as a home dog to Florida State? So we look at their teams. So we know they lost 28-7 to Duke. Then they beat Charlton Southern. What the fuck are they playing them for? 66-17. So that gets wiped out. That doesn't count. Then they beat Florida Atlantic, who's a Sun Belt or Conference USA, middle of the road team, 48-14. So are they really ready for that? Now you can go. So here's their schedule. Here's details. So let's click on the details. It's going to give me the box score. So Florida Atlantic, their quarterback Thompson 7-12, and they have another Richardson 18-32, and 3 interceptions, and nobody really can run. So we go to Clemson, Klubik, 16-27 with 3 touchdowns, 169 yards. Not that impressive against Florida Atlantic. Running, Klubik 6 for 35, 30, Shipley 38. I don't see a lot of running here. Now, the only way you're going to beat Florida State, as LSU knows, is you've got to be able to be balanced and run. I know Shipley's a good running back. I'm not sold on Klubnik. So really we're betting Klubnik. Now, we don't need to go to the Florida State because we saw them against LSU and they buried them. Now they got the turnovers. This game's at Clemson. Clemson will be sky high, which is good for the first quarter, and then you're flat as shit because you've lost all your emotion. So I guess the Florida Atlantic team at home, having to win because they lost to Duke, 16-27, 169 yards. Is that going to be good enough to get it done against Florida fucking State? No way. Klubnik, 6-35. Shipley, 10-38. So I wish I had the complete box score so I could see, was there a lot of turnovers? And how did they score? Did they score no returns? Does it give me fumbles? Florida, well, okay, so they got 3 interceptions by Florida Atlantic, but it doesn't show fumbles. So I got 3 easy scores at. So I really probably scored 20 points in the game because it doesn't look like statistically the quarterback didn't do well, and Shipley only ran for 48 yards. So now when we look at the details of the game, you go, well, wait a minute. You throw out the Charlton Southern. So did they really do a lot against Florida Atlantic? The scores this evening, they didn't. Is Shipley going to be able to run on Florida State's defense? They'll be emotional. They'll be at home. They'll be a home dog. Do we think Clemson has a chance of winning? I don't think they do. Because when they really played a team like Duke smoked them 28-7. I think Klubnik's not going to have a prayer in this game. I think Florida State dominates the line. Klubnik throws his 2 or 3 picks. We saw what Florida State did to LSU. They're a top 4 team. Again, it's Georgia, it's Florida State, it's Utah, and it's Notre Dame. Those are your top 4 teams. Maybe Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State is a 5th. USC does not have the defense. Is Washington or Oregon in there? They can't beat Utah if Rising plays. So those are your best teams. So it kind of makes it very difficult. Florida State has to win, of course. But again, I don't think Clemson's an A team based on the loss to Duke. So statistically they might be, but when they played a good team, and Duke's a very good team, they got killed. You can't forget that. It's the first week. You don't forget it. The quarterback sucks. He still sucks. He didn't really light up Florida Atlantic. And so I think he's their weakling. I think he throws some interceptions. I wouldn't want to bet against Florida State here and think Clemson at 8.5 is a good play. I don't think so. Over under 55. I would think it's how strong is the Florida State? Now, they didn't play like a shutout against LSU. So I think this game could go over versus under, or it might do both. But I think they score a lot on Clemson. I think Clemson can put up points, but not a lot. I think there's a lot of turnovers in the game. So for the over-under, it's where do the turnovers happen? Is Clemson at the Florida State 10 turning it over, or at their own 10 turning it over? That's the difference between an over and an under. So we're going to leave that alone. So the only way to play this game is Florida State plus 3.5 at an emotional Clemson. Is that our best play? That's a Bobby play, right? Bobby's going to play. Bobby will play Florida State, or unless he hates Florida State for beating his LSU team. But this is a game that I can find bettors. I'd rather play the Notre Dame over than fuck around with this game. Again, it's the same reward. Why take more risk? A bet's a bet. If it's a two-team teaser and your bookie's 11-10, it doesn't matter what you put in the teaser. You're getting paid out 11-10. 110 wins you 100. So why fuck around with this type of game when you can fuck around with Notre Dame over against Ohio State, which seems like a no-brainer. Now, if we lose that game, I don't have any remorse. I don't have any shouldn't have bet it. I've been calling for that one for 3 weeks now, just like I'm calling for Notre Dame USC. I'm betting that over. If it doesn't go over and both quarterbacks are healthy, if it's Hartman and Williams and they're both healthy and it doesn't go over, it was a good bet. And since we don't know the outcomes until after the game, that's all we can do is say that's a good bet. So I got to leave this game alone because I got so many better ones than this. SMU, TCU 7. TCU we saw lose to Colorado. Then we saw them beat Houston. SMU we saw 28-11 Oklahoma. So those are the only pieces of the puzzle I'm looking at. I don't care what SMU played against Brother Rice High School and TCU. We've got 2 real games, Colorado and Houston to go by. It's at TCU. I don't know what is SMU at this point. Well, I guess we're going to have to see. So let's go into SMU and see what else they did. So SMU, they beat L-Tech 38-14, 28-11 Oklahoma, and last week was Prairie View A&M. What the, I don't get the schedule. Why are they all playing these Division II teams? Like, don't they have enough games in their conference to play? So, and this is what the funny part is. Then they go and they make a bowl at 6-6 or whatever it is now. But 2 of their games are against Division II teams. So they really won 4 games and they're making a bowl because they throw this bullshit game in. So we only have the 2 games. So L-Tech 38-14. How does that play into it? But then Oklahoma. So let's go into the Oklahoma details. What the fuck happened there? So Stone was 26 of 45 with 1 touch, 1 interception, 250 yards. Not bad. No running at all. One guy, Knighton, 15 for 76. And then we look at Oklahoma. Gabriel, 19 of 27. They didn't really throw for 176 and 4 touchdowns. A lot of turnovers, it seems like, because a lot of short fields. And Oklahoma had one runner, 21 for 117, T. Walker. So what do we get out of this? Probably a lot of turnovers. How many times did SMU go for it on 4th down? Who knows? I think TCU -0.5 has got to be good here at home. They're not as strong as last year, but I don't mind their quarterback. Even against Colorado, was the first week was 100 degrees. So I think TCU wins the game. Do I want over 63 down to 57? I don't know. SMU, new quarterback. They lit it up last week against the high school, but TCU, okay, Colorado, big, and then Houston was like 29 to 13. It wasn't a high scoring game. At this point, I'm going to leave this game alone. This is a who knows. So let's go to the games I kind of like. Toledo 20, Western Michigan. Western Michigan I have as a Z. Toledo played Illinois well. I have them as an A. They're laying 20 over under 54. I kind of like Toledo here laying the 14 on the thought that Western's got a very weak offense. Toledo is a good quarterback, good offense. They're at home. So I don't see Toledo. I see Toledo scoring a lot against this weak defense. Western lost to Iowa 41-10 last week. So Iowa puts up 41 on you. Now, granted, Iowa scored on the last second to cover the 28-point spread. And fuck up my under. I can't believe that. Until I noticed that the spread was 28 and that touchdown gave them the 28. So then I go, now I understand why they score with 2 seconds left. So Toledo, a high-scoring team. Western, not apparently a lot of defense, no real offense. So I think Toledo, this is a game they can blow them out. Don't understand Nebraska now, 20-point favorite over Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech's an over team. And Nebraska, I have statistically as an under team. Now, Heinrich Himmler came in, and he led them 3 touchdowns, no picks. Sims has been giving them a lot of turnovers. He's a terrible quarterback from Georgia Tech. He was terrible there. That's like the last one. When Frost came in, he had Adrian Martinez who sucked, and he kept playing him, and you're like, he sucks. So I don't know, these coaches, like, they fall in love with these guys, and they don't realize they suck, and they don't take them out. Or they have nobody left, which is even worse, because Frost had 4 years to recruit a guy where and he couldn't. So definitely like Toledo in a blowout. Oh, and Nebraska. I don't know. I mean, they had a good defense against Colorado, held them to 22 or 29. LTAC with an over team. You got to go with the defense. Over under 47. Again, you got an over thing. I can't bet Nebraska laying 14 against anybody. So this is a game I just simply pass on. Duke 21 over UConn. So we got to go here. We got to look. We love Duke. We got to look at what's going on with UConn. So we know Duke killed Clemson, 28-7. Enough said. What is UConn doing? So UConn lost to NC State 24-14. They lost to Georgia State. That's Division I, 35-24. And they lost to Florida International, who's not really good, 24-17. So they're scoring about 15 points a game. Give them 14 against Duke. Can Duke get to 30 on them? NC State 24, but then Georgia State 35, who's a pretty good offense, and then Florida International 24, who sucks. So I think Duke, the game is at Connecticut, minus 20. It's a little bit high, minus 15, but is UConn a W team? Well, their offense is under 20, and then their defense is probably close to 30. So it does qualify them as a weak offense. Because again, this is Georgia State and Florida International, and they're getting 14, 17 points, and they're giving up 24 and 35. So this isn't exactly, strong offenses that they're giving up 35. So I think Duke, I think they blow them out. Duke beat Clemson, really can't afford to lose. So this is a good Duke play. Alabama and Old Mississippi. Alabama is struggling. Alabama has no quarterback. Old Mississippi has been playing very well. Let's look at Old Miss. So we've seen Alabama's on TV, so we don't have to check them. Old Miss, all right, forget Mercer. They beat Tulane 37-20 without the quarterback, and they beat Georgia Tech 48-23 in a very high-scoring Georgia Tech team. Not a strong defensive team. So the best team they beat was Tulane 37-20. Now, Alabama, we know has a good defense, but we know the Mississippi coach, from Tennessee and USC, and he kept quitting, and I don't know his name, coached at Alabama as their offensive coordinator for a few years. He knows their offense, but they don't even have a quarterback, so he knows that too. I think Ole Miss has a very good chance of winning this game. Again, we only want dogs that we feel can win the game. And this dog, this is a 3:30 game. This dog, I think, has a very good chance of winning it. The problem with Alabama is they're a passing offense. But if they don't have a quarterback, the receivers can be open all day. They're not going to get the ball. So we saw the one guy against Texas, Milrose, throw 3 picks. He did run around a little bit, again, but the running quarterback doesn't work in a passing offense in the NFL. And then the other guy last week's terrible. They're lucky they played South Florida and not this game. If they'd have played this game with that quarterback, they'd be 0-2. I think Ole Miss can win. I think getting 13 is a steal. I think Mississippi should be favored in the game. Alabama's an under team. They don't score a lot. So you got a team without a quarterback that doesn't score a lot against a very strong Ole Miss, good offense. Beat a good the best team they'd beaten was Tulane. However, the quarterback didn't play in the game. I would have loved to see the quarterback play, and then they beat him 37-20. And again, keep in mind, the last touchdown was a pick six with 2 seconds left that they should have not gotten. So over under a 55, I don't know how you go over with this Alabama offense. A normal Alabama offense, this is an easy over, but we know Alabama's got the strong defense. I look for them to run because their quarterbacks suck and they don't have a choice. Ole Miss should be able to get points on them. They'll spread them out, whatever. I think Ole Miss wins the game. I think getting 13, I think, is a joke. Fuck the over-under. I don't know. I don't care. If I get the spread I want, then I don't even care about, like, the Michigan game I'm going under. I don't care what the spread is. And the Georgia game. This game, I don't care what the over-under is. It's either an under or nothing because Alabama has no quarterback. But if Alabama's not going to score, and I got a team like Ole Miss who can score, now I like Ole Miss plus 13 in the game. They probably will win. So there you go with Ole Miss. Now, what would you rather take? Ole Miss plus 13 against Alabama with no quarterback, or Florida State, Clemson, where you got, well, maybe I'll take Florida State in 3.5. Now, we all know what Bobby's going to do. He's going to take Florida State or Clemson. I don't know who he's going to, but he'd rather play that game than this game, which blows my mind. Take Mississippi in 13 because it's the same reward if I take Mississippi in 13 or I take Florida State plus 3.5 and got to sweat a home dog like Clemson versus, yeah, Alabama, but they're not a home dog and they don't have a quarterback. So that won't really, it didn't work against Texas. I don't think it's going to work here. No, Ole Miss doesn't have the Texas defense. We know that. But I think they have enough offense getting 13 points. Now, the only time I bet against Alabama is when they play Georgia or LSU with Joe Burrow. And that's like the only time, or, maybe on a good Ohio State team that I would take against Alabama. But in this case, they're so weak. Like I think they're going to lose 4 or 5 games. They're going to lose to Tennessee. They're going to lose to LSU, maybe Auburn, although I don't know how strong Auburn is, which we will see. But that's really a good game to bet. All right, let's go. Miami against Temple. We got Miami laying 24. Miami is an A team. We saw them destroy Texas A&M. Van Dyke looks strong as hell. He's not throwing interceptions. Their defense, all right, A&M got some points on them. But here you got Temple. They're laying 24. The game's in Temple, over under a 51. So is there any reason in God's name I would want to not take this game? Let's see if we can find Temple. I hate when they move the games around because of the time, and then you're in this section of it, now you got to move down. Okay. Let's see where Temple. Over under went down to 49.5. So if we look at Temple, they beat a shitty Akron team 24-21. They lost to Rutgers 36-7. Now here's where the problems come if you don't do this. They beat Norfolk State 41-9. So when you look at the averages, you go, oh, Temple's an under team. But you got to throw out the Norfolk State game because it's high school. So against the two teams, and one was Akron, who sucks. So they beat Akron 24-21. They get killed by Rutgers 36-7 at home. So if we just look at those two games, what do we take out of it? Akron's a Z team, I believe. If I can find them. Come on, Akron, where are you? Yeah, Akron I got as a W. They got Indiana this week. So I got Akron as a W, give up 25-26 a game, and that's probably with the Division II game in there. So they barely beat a terrible Akron team. Then getting 7.5, they get killed by Rutgers 36-7. So the fact they only score 7 on Rutgers, they have a pretty good defense, which is why I like the Michigan-Rutgers defense, right? Rutgers scoring 36 means what? Miami scoring 46. We're only 24 minus the 6 is 18. They should kill Temple. We saw them kill Texas A&M. They're playing much better. They got rid of the terrible offensive coordinator who was the Michigan offensive coordinator who sucked. He gets fired. Why does Miami hire him? He fucks up my Van Dyke. Now they fire him again. Now Miami's turn to fire him. What did you bring him on for in the first place? What made you think he was any good? Because he was at Alabama, but he wasn't their offensive coordinator. He was their towel boy. So here Miami laying 18 should kill Temple. It should be 45-7. I'm not fucking with the over-under. Miami's got a good defense. I think Miami shuts them out 38-0, 40-0. So it might be an underplay, but I like only laying 18 here to this weak Temple team. Colorado, Oregon. Now we know all we need to know. We don't have to look at this. Oregon lights you up at home. Now they beat Texas Tech 38-31 on the road. And Colorado we saw at TCU, but that was the first week and nobody knew what to expect. It was 100 degrees and they got lucky. TCU did not blitz the quarterback and they just sat back in the zone and were spying the quarterback who doesn't run. So you got to blitz that. Lane Kiffin. Thank you, Todd. Yep. Yeah. See, I know the name, but my mind's over here thinking about, other games than that. But thank you, Todd. So what do we do with this game? So we know Oregon's okay. Colorado State put up what 30? How many points? 35 points. Colorado State put up on Colorado on Coach Prime. He has no defense. So Oregon's going to be 60 points without a sweat. At home, they're going to kill him. Let's see what time this game is at. It's a 3:30 game, so they do get them in the afternoon, not in the evening. So we've got Oregon, 65. I mean, Colorado State just put up 35 on you. They suck. They played USC, and they lost 63-7. How do they get 35 on Colorado? It means their defense sucks. So we've got Oregon in the 60s, just like last week against Hawaii, 55-10. I had it over 61 or 62. I got there at the end. Hawaii got a late touchdown for me, and 55-10 was 65. So I got the winner, but I did get the 55 from Oregon. Now, I do expect Colorado to get more than 10 points. How much more, I don't know. Oregon has a tendency of blitzing, getting a lot of sacks at home because of the crowd noise. So I'm not that confident on, I'm still kind of confused. Do I want to lay the 15 and Oregon's going to kill them? Or do I think Colorado can get into the 30s, in which case this is a 90-point game and it's an over? The over-under is 69. Is that what I still got? Over-under 70, I see. First blush, this is an over. Some defensive injuries to Colorado. Good for the over. So we look at Colorado. They struggled with Nebraska. They only put up a 29. And then last week they struggled with Colorado State. Granted, they get 43, but I think, what was that overtime? So it's tied 35 all at the end of four. So they played a 70 with Colorado State, but they're going to have trouble scoring on this pressure defense of Oregon. But let's give Primetime and Primetime Junior credit for 24 points in the game. We give Oregon credit for 50 points in the game. So 54-24 to 78. It's over. They win by 30. We're laying 21. We're laying 15. That line is still 21. -6 is 15. So this is now a dilemma of I got steak and I got lobster, and which one do I want to eat? This is a very unique game. Like the Michigan game, it's an automatic under. Georgia is an automatic under. I wouldn't ever lay 41 with Georgia. They beat you 35-0. That's what they do. Look at last week, South Carolina, 24-14. 30. They play a 38, and the total I had was under 60 something. So what do you do with this one? I think you win either way. The only way you don't win is if you take Colorado in 27 and you get caught on the Coach Prime bullshit. But if you just look at the teams and forget it's Coach Prime and Bo Nix and it's Oregon at home who lights it up, I think you win minus 15, but if you're a little bit afraid of that, then go over 69, over 70 down to 64. I think they're both easy winners. I think the over is a very good winner, a very easy winner, because I think Oregon's going to get you at least 55 points. They couldn't stop Colorado State. You can't. Okay, so USC beats them 63-7. And then here's Colorado beating them 43-35 in overtime. They give up 35 points to Colorado State. So you've got to understand that and go, well, fuck Oregon. At Oregon, it's a 50. It's at least a 50 because that's what Oregon does to you, right? Now, Oregon's got a decent defense, so you wonder how much will Colorado got? And that's really the dilemma. Do I take the Oregon because I don't think Colorado's going to score, and I don't want to be over, or do I think Colorado gets 21 for me, and then it'll be a 75, 80-point game, and I go over 64? It's one of those two, and that's really the dilemma. And then it's all based on your feel. Do I think Colorado's going to score? Okay, they lit up TCU in the first week, 100 degrees. I'm going to say it's a fluke because you didn't know what to see. Now that the film's out, even Colorado State's holding them down to 35. Nebraska held them to 29. Oregon's going to hold them probably under 21 because they're going to just pressure them. So I don't know that Colorado cannot handle that. Now that we see Colorado, they're in big trouble here. Oregon's going to kill them. That's for sure. James, how good is Oregon's quarterback? He's fine. Bo Nix, same quarterback as last year. He lights it up, especially at home. They just went to Texas Tech, beat them 38-31. This is at home. So we look at last week's game. We want to get into that. So Oregon beat Portland State 81-7. That doesn't count. Texas Tech 38-30. And last week, Hawaii 55-10. I did have the over there. I'm not expecting 55-10 there, but Hawaii had a good offense. I'm expecting that type of score. So that should be good. But Bo Nix is fine. He's, he lit it up last year. The only time you don't want to fuck with an Oregon or a Washington is if they play a Georgia or a Utah or maybe a Michigan. An Iowa State. Look at USC against Washington State last year. They beat them 29-16. So USC's putting up 50 points on everybody. Utah, UCLA. They get against Washington State, and it was 29-16. So you always got to be careful about defenses. And that's why I warn you, I don't want to play an Oregon against – I don't want to play a good offense against a strong defense. I would much rather play the defense. So what you have to look at here, Oregon, Colorado, I don't have a good defense for Colorado. I do have a good defense for Oregon, but I don't have a good defense for Colorado. So Oregon's going to go up and down the field, and there's nothing Colorado's going to do. That's your first thing. So then it becomes, can Colorado move on Oregon's defense, which is not going to be that easy. So that's why I give them make 20. I think Oregon, the 15 wins and the 64 goes over. Maryland and Michigan State. Maryland, a B team, hasn't played anybody. Michigan State has all these problems with the coach being fired. They got killed by Washington last week. Maryland, pretty decent offensive team, terrible defense. Michigan State doesn't really have much of a defense. I think Maryland -1. I think is a good. Again, it's a better play than Florida State +3.5 at Clemson. UCLA, Utah. Utah 4.5. They're an under team without Rising. They can't score and a great defense. UCLA has changed quarterbacks. Kid from Detroit, who's very good, has had 2 good games, but now he's got to face Utah at Utah with this killer defense. But UCLA has shown a good defense, stopping San Diego State, who doesn't have much, but stopping my Coastal Carolina team with McCall, who scores a lot. So that showed me a lot with UCLA. I almost think this is an under game without Rising because I think Utah's going to run the ball on UCLA because they can't throw. Their quarterback stinks. They'll go to the running quarterback, maybe the option guy. UCLA's new quarterback will struggle in this game because this is, again, he's a freshman from Detroit, played 2 games, lit it up, but now he's got to go into the mountains against this defense, probably in a whiteout. Look out for this. I think this is an over-under of 51. 51.5, 4.5, 51.5. Without Rising, it's hard to play Utah here. I think UCLA is a live dog in this game, but I think the best play in a UCLA game is going to be under, just because they have nothing like tuna salad. Well, it's tuna in the salad. I heard that last week, but I won't believe it till I see it. It wouldn't surprise me, but then why is the line 4.5? So we will see. Right now in injuries, he's still questionable. So I don't know where you heard it, but how reliable is the source? Because I heard it week 1 that he was playing, and then he didn't play. He was going to play, and he's going to. The line moved, and then he didn't play. If he's going to play, yes, I agree. You take him out against a critical game like UCLA. Absolutely, 100%. If he's ready to go, this is the game you got to play him in. Now, it's a total different animal. If I got 4.5, 51, and Rising's playing, and the tight end, now I got to take Utah. That's the difference between a Rising and a backup, and why it's not a system play like Ohio State and Alabama. Alabama's a system. That shows you how bad that quarterback is. If he can't do anything in that thing, it's like Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. It's a system play, and Rattler was struggling, and then Caleb Williams comes in, who's a fast guy, and he's a runner. So that's where you get the system. This is not a system because then the backup would come in for Utah and light it up, which he hasn't. So if Rising plays, and I'm only laying 4.5, I'm taking Utah +1.5. That's a whole different animal. But as of now, with the backup, Barnes or whoever, this is an underplay because Utah's not going to score. UCLA looks like they have a good defense. And we know Utah is a very strong defense. So Rising plays, we bet Utah. I hope he plays. I've been waiting for him for 3 weeks now, but I am not going to listen to hearsay until I hear he's in and that line goes to 6. And I hear Rising will play, and they don't fuck around because Whittingham keeps fucking around. Well, it's a game time decision, and then he doesn't play. There was a game last year. We thought he was playing, and even the announcer thought he was. And then they go out for the first snap, and the announcer says it's Rising, and then it wasn't Rising. He didn't even at game time, you didn't know who was playing, and he didn't go out and play. And they won, they should have won by 40, but they won by 10 because it was the backup quarterback. So we will see. Yes, right now it's an under game without Rising, and this is a very strong defense. And again, it's in the mountains. So if Rising plays, I don't think UCLA has a chance here. BYU, Kansas. Kansas 9.5, 55. BYU beat Arkansas. I think this is a game where I have the dog that can win, which is BYU. They proved it last week against a good Arkansas team. And Kansas, I mean, Nevada sucks. And their quarterbacks suck, Kansas. They're running the ball. They didn't know what they were doing. It was very bad coaching. They get the win. They beat Nevada by 7. USC beat them 70-7. And Kansas, with this good offense, only gets 35 on them. So I got to question that. So BYU, I don't know, over 55 goes to 49 maybe, but I don't get the spread, 9.5. I get 15.5 BYU, and they can win the game. So I'm taking So here's where I like the dog. I get a strong dog. Oklahoma, Iowa State, 3.5. Good, got to be low scoring. It's Iowa State, under and under. Oak State couldn't score, against weak teams. Iowa State doesn't. They lost 10-7. So I'm looking at that similar score there. I gotta start this game. All right. Tennessee and UTSA. We still have Frank Harris still very doubtful with the toe injury. Tennessee, okay, now they're coming off of a loss to Florida. Now this isn't in conference. UTSA, I don't think they joined the SEC. I mean, with all these teams changing. UTSA has been struggling scoring. Tennessee does not struggle to score at home. I would think Tennessee blows them out here just because Army blew them out last week, right? Army put up 37-29 last week. So if Army's putting 37 up you, Tennessee's putting up a 50 on you because Tennessee, good head coach, is good offensive guy. Look for them to get right against UTSA. James, odd BYU off the road. SEC win is 8-point dog. They're 9.5-point dog, and this spread doesn't make sense. I checked. I don't see injuries. I don't like Daniels for Kansas. The better quarterbacks being the backup. Daniels is not a very good passer. I don't know. So I think Tennessee off the loss wins. Liberty against Florida International. Liberty's been lighting it up. They have the Coastal Carolina coach. They've been scoring a lot. They're an A team. Florida International is a low-scoring team. Liberty's laying 10. I like Liberty laying 4 here. I don't like the dogs. Florida International is just not very good. Georgia Tech, Wake Forest. Georgia Tech's been explosive, very high scoring. Wake Forest is still they beat Vandy. I mean, I don't know what I get out of that. Pretty low scoring, over under a 59. I think this is Georgia Tech can win the game. It's probably a live dog. They certainly are scoring. So if they're scoring, they can hang in the game. And then over under a 59, I don't know. Wake seems to be a decent defense. So I think if let's look at the Vandy score, and then we'll judge it if we have 59. So can we go over 53? So let's go to the Vandy. Georgia Tech. Okay, Georgia Tech, Wake. So let's go to the Wake game. We know Georgia Tech lit up a couple teams already. They played a high game with Louisville. So Wake beats Vandy 36-20 and Old D 27-24. So not a really strong defense. The Elon game skews it because they beat them 37-17. So they give up 22, which makes them kind of an under defense, and they score like a 30. So it's 30-22. So that makes them about a B team. That's how my stats go, right? So if you get 30 and give up 22, you're kind of a B. Um, Now the Vandy game was 56, and this is a 59-53, and then Old D was a 51. So this is definitely an over. Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, because I think Georgia Tech puts up 40 and Wake will be right there. I think this is a 70-point game. I don't think Wake's going to hold them into the 20. I mean, so let's say it's the Vanderbilt 34-20. We're going over 59 is over 53. So it's the same news. So this should be over. Georgia Tech is an explosive team. I think they're a live dog, but I prefer the over better than the live dog. Okay, Oregon State, Washington State. And I have made a decision here. Well, Oregon State 3. Let's just get to this one. Oregon State 3, 56.5. Why is Washington State a home dog? They played Wisconsin and they beat them at home. Pretty good. They've got a killer defense. So does Oregon State. This is clearly an under game. Both teams are A and under. Now, we've seen Uglia against good teams, and he disappears. And that's what we got here. Uglia against this strong Washington State defense. He's going to disappear. I don't love Ward, the Washington State quarterback, but he did beat Wisconsin. So let's give him credit for that. He's one of these who's a basketball player who's now the quarterback who's learning. All right, great. This is the best you could come up with, Washington State. So he's fast. He can move around, and he did beat Wisconsin's defense. So I think this is a low-scoring game, over under 56. I think it's under 62, but I can't resist a home dog like Washington State, who definitely can win the game. So I take the Wisconsin game, which they won, as a home dog, getting 7. And I had the game over, and I won it. But it was the free play 2 weeks ago. But in this case, I got to take Washington State in the 9. The Washington State should be favored in this game. They are at home. They got the better quarterback, and the defenses are dead even. They both are very strong defenses. When these two teams play, your Oregon and Washington's, we are not going over on the game. We are keeping it under, and these teams are very strong. They'll both kill Colorado. So if Colorado plays Washington State, they're going to get shut out. They're not going to, because these defensive ends on Washington State are both they're like you both on both sides. Forget about it. They were very strong last year, and they're very strong this year. And Oregon State looks like their defense is there. So this is a double play. You can go under 56, 62 fucking points in this game. You got to be kidding. But let's say there is, because there was in the Washington State-Wisconsin game, very similar game. I think Washington State at home should be favored. You're getting a dog that should win the game, especially at home. Much different than Clemson. I don't think their quarterback can win the game. Washington State definitely can. So so we could choose Clemson or fuck around with Florida State in a very tough pick, or we could come here with the Washington State, Oregon State in an easier pick with the home dog here. So I like the home dog here because Oregon State's not nearly the team Florida State is. If Florida State was coming in lane 3, I'd probably still take Washington State, but I wouldn't be as excited as this Oregon State one is. Okay, so Let's see. Arizona, Stanford. Arizona laying 10, 58. Arizona, DeLuca, very good quarterback. Pretty good offense. It's at Stanford, so kind of, I think Arizona wins. Stanford's pretty bad. I got Stanford as a W team, no defense. So I think Arizona should be able to score on it. Bobby's game, Arkansas, LSU. Now, Arkansas just lost to BYU. Here they go at LSU. Saturday night in Ellis in Baton Rouge. Crowd will be heavily drunk. LSU 1755. Arkansas. Now, I like Jefferson. I don't care what Bobby says. LSU, I don't like their quarterback. Too many turnovers. But I think in this game, this will be an emotional game and should be very high scoring. Like I said, they couldn't really hold BYU down. They got in the 30s. LSU will get in the 40s here. I think Arkansas can score with Jefferson at least 20. Over under 55, over 49 is a joke in this game. This game will easily get over that. Again, you've got you got a really good offense in LSU, and I like Brian. Here's where I like Brian Kelly is putting up point. He put up a lot on Old Mississippi State last week, but at home they're very emotional. So I look for LSU. I don't know about 17. They might cover that, but again, I like Jefferson, and I like him to score me 20 points. I'm looking in the 40s against the 20s, so that's a 60. I need 49. Oh my God. App State, Wyoming. This is another dog that easily can win the game. Wyoming's laying 3-44. Wyoming, a pretty good defensive team, but they played Texas Tech 37-35. So they can score. App State played North Carolina 34-24. North Carolina won, but they were very competitive in the game. They're a very strong Sun Belt team. Wyoming doesn't scare me. They don't have the offense to really blow them away. And App State is a very strong dog here. Very even game. I like App State in the 9 all day. This is the type of dog you want. They have good defense, good offense. Although they're both overs, but they just played North Carolina 34-24, who's got a much better offense than Wyoming, right? Now, Wyoming has a decent defense. They just played Texas 31-10, I believe. Texas won, but that was after the Alabama win, so we will see. Anybody want to take a shot at Sam Houston? The over-under on this game is ridiculous, 38. Sam Houston must have the whole 74 Steelers or the 85 Bears on their defense. They played BYU 14-0. They don't score, but they have a great defense. Their defense is like giving up 5 points a game, and we know they played BYU and somebody else. So I don't know. I have no idea here. This is the point. We got to learn Sam Houston. All we know of them is they don't score and they have a great defense. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to watch one of those YouTube Sam Houston games to see what the fuck's going on. But Houston, they lost to Rice. They lost to TCU. They beat UTSA. They're a Southwest Conference school now, and I know it's the Big 12, but I want to have fun. I can't go under on a 38 with Sam Houston, but I would think it's a low-scoring game. Ohio State, Notre Dame, that's your free one. Go over 54-48. Are you kidding me? That to me is like, wow, it started at 64. I don't know why it left 64. That's about where it should be, 64. So we're getting a free 10 plus our 6-point teaser. So we're over 48 in a game that we should have to be going over 58. And even then it's a joke. 48 means 28-21. Do you see that in this game? Hartman against whoever on Ohio State, Harrison and those guys. Notre Dame, okay, they gave up 17 to Central. Ohio State's defense has played well, but Indiana and Youngstown is not exactly the cream of the crops. And in West Kentucky put up 10. But, they got down big, so you can't really say anything. But I don't know. Let's see. Penn State, Iowa. Penn State laying 14, over under a 40. This is not an under to me. I know it usually is. This is so not an under. Penn State scores a lot. Now, Iowa, okay, they put up 23 in Iowa State, which is a big number. Last week they got 41. The fact Iowa State got 13, okay, Penn State, the game's at Penn State is huge. Iowa does not play that well on the road. There must be, I know they painted their locker room pink. I remember Michigan stories. Just a second. Let me put this away. I got to pack up my computer because I got to send it back to Hurley. So they sent me a box and peanuts, the plastics, but no tape. So I said, well, I'll have to go to UPS and they can tape it up. I ain't buying tape for a company that scammed me, so not going to do it. All right, so Penn State, pretty good team, pretty high scoring. Let's take a look at it. I see 40 and I go, no, that's too low. All right, so let's look at Penn State. Iowa State, 20-13 with Iowa State, Iowa State. So they put up, what I get out of it, they put up 20. They put up 41 last week. They got McNamara, the Michigan quarterback, needs a few weeks to get going. Let's take a look at it. Penn State beats West Virginia 38-15. Forget the Delaware game. And then they beat Illinois, who had a pretty good defense on the road, 30-13. So they play a 53 with West Virginia, and they play a 43 at Illinois. So they're about a 30. So if I just take the two games, they were 34-14. Iowa, as we said, 23-13 to Iowa State. Quarterback is a new one for Penn State, but the game's at home. Iowa's got McNamara from Michigan. He's been in the playoffs. This will be nothing for him. What do we think? So I think Penn State gets in the 30s. Illinois's got a very similar defense to Iowa. At least they did last year. Put up a 30. So 30 and a 38. So let's give Penn State 30. I think Iowa, if they could score 20 on Iowa State, gets a 20 here. So we look, West Virginia got 15 on them. Illinois got 13 on them. So I got to believe that Iowa's good for 14 here and Penn State's in the 30s. So it's a 40. That puts it at a 44, 47. All we need is 34. This is a case, I think, the spread's too low. The 14 down to 8 I don't like, and I don't like Iowa in 20. I don't. At Penn State, it's Penn State or nothing. This game is a 7:30, probably a whiteout. So this is a very emotional game for Penn State. Iowa is not at home. They are not the same team on the road. But the fact they scored 20 on Iowa State gives me belief they'll score 20 here. Penn State in the 30s is a 50. I got 40, 34. This is a joke over. This over is too low. So what they're trying to say is, well, any game with Iowa, we're just going to make the over-under 39, 40 points. But it's not, you can't do, if they're playing Ohio State, you can't make it 40. Ohio State will do that by themselves. This is a game where Penn State's emotional are going to score a lot, and Iowa can score a little. There's no way this game is under 46. I would not touch it under 46 because Penn State they score in 30 games. So I got to look at this score, 37-20. Iowa will get some points. They're not Iowa State, who doesn't score. That was a beautiful lock I had last week with the Iowa State under against Ohio, and I ignored the Iowa under because they were playing Western Michigan, and because Ohio was an under team and Iowa State, so that's how you differentiated it. But in this game, both defenses are good, but I just think Penn State emotional. 34 points. I got a feeling Penn State gets there by themselves. So this is a unique place where I'm taking an Iowa over because the number is too fucking low. Hey, David. Well, you're late. Well, fortunately, this is a class you can go back to the beginning on. Yeah, going through we went through the lines first, just college, and now we're going through the games that make sense to go through. I was watching some of your older videos and see you do a lot of financial topics. Well, I got a master's in corporate finance and Austrian economics, which is free market economics, not government economics, which is what Keynesianism is. Keynesianism doesn't work, but free market has always worked, Adam Smith and all that. So, yeah, I do a lot of that because nobody understands that they're all going to get the shit kicked out of them very soon. And I didn't feel comfortable not sharing my knowledge that I share in football on gold and the economics because most people are in the dark because they don't teach it anymore because the government doesn't want you to know they're fucking you over. And I said, fuck it, I'm not going to just sit here and do nothing. This is the best thing I can do is come on YouTube and have people see and learn exactly what the fuck is going on. And that's why I added gold and economics, free market and brics and all that stuff that's happening. Inflation's much higher than you think, but they'll tell you 2%. If you're stupid enough to listen to CNN, you get what you deserve because they're just full of shit. But yeah, thanks for that, David. James, I'm an Illinois fan. Watched the game. Penn State played very conservative, but they won't play that. That's because it was a freshman's first road game. They're not going to do that against Iowa. This is at home. It becomes more emotional. Despite the extra possessions due to 4 Illinois interceptions. So Illinois got 4 interceptions or Penn State got the 4 interceptions? So what is Bobby Bowe as one of your regulars? Yeah, Bobby comes to class quite a bit. He looks forward to it. As far as I believe, it's the guy who played for the Pirates and the Mets. I don't believe it's some scammer pretending to be Bob. I mean, my point on that, if it's a scammer, he's going to pretend to be Tom Brady or Mickey Mantle or something. I don't know that you would scam and say, I'm Bobby Bonilla, even though I'm not. So, yeah, I believe it's him. He's been coming here for at least a year, and he loves the economics because he just doesn't know. He's got that contract, which is like $1 million a year for like 30 years. And I told him that he should talk to his attorney and get it changed to gold instead of money because $1 million of money is worthless. And he's better off getting $1 million of gold every year. If he's smart, he'll do that, but I don't know if he's done that or how easy it is to do, but that's exactly what I would do if I was him. All right, so we see Penn State again. Big game for them. Iowa with a good defense at home, not as much on the road. McNamara, good quarterback from Michigan, so they should score. If anything, Penn State's got the freshman. He's good, but he's more comfortable at home. So definitely like this game over. Georgia, I gave you as the free play. Go under Georgia. Go over Notre Dame, Ohio State. That's the free pick. I don't really need to get into explanation on Georgia under. If you can get 3 first downs on them, you've had a good game. Texas and Baylor, interesting one. Texas is laying 14-51 at Baylor without Blake Shapen. So their real stud quarterback has hurt his knee. He's out, says till the end of September. So it must not have been a tear of the ACL or MCL, or he'd be out all year like Rising. This actually should be a very low-scoring game. Texas is playing very strong defense. They're really not putting up big numbers offensively, but their defense is playing very well. I think they shut out Baylor. Baylor is not there's not scoring with the backup quarterback, sort of like Utah is not scoring with their backup. I think Texas wins like 37-0 or something. I think it's definitely an under 51. We go under 57. I think that's a very good play. I mean, your biggest concern is Texas puts up a 60, but I don't think at Baylor, Texas is putting up a 60. Baylor's too good of a team to, they're just going to run the ball, play strong defense. The defense knows they have to show up. I don't see they have a chance to win the game with the backup quarterback, but definitely should be a low-scoring one. Texas is an A team, good quarterback. They lack the running they had, but a very strong defense. So keep that in mind. This should be a low-scoring game. And this is why you got to rank the teams. This is not Texas 3 years ago. And I'm not sure this is Oklahoma of the last few years where they just score 60 points and give up 60 points. So that's why you've got to understand the teams. We understand Notre Dame and Ohio State this year better because Notre Dame's got Hartman, so they're no longer kind of a weak offense. And then Ohio State is kind of a weak offense. The quarterback got going last week just in time to make Ohio State a road favorite at Notre Dame, which makes 0 sense. And then the over is 54, which is way low. So definitely like that. I got 2 pages now because it's so many fucking games. Minnesota Northwestern. Minnesota laying 11. Over under a 39. This is under versus under. This game, Minnesota's been playing very low-scoring games. I just don't see this getting. You got to get to 45. I don't see it getting there. Minnesota's been playing in Nebraska 13-10. Northwestern doesn't really have an offense. They don't score. Minnesota doesn't score. Killer defense, a good secondary, so this should be low scoring. I don't know. Minnesota -5 on the road. I don't know they score enough to cover it. James Madison, Utah State. James Madison laying 7. Over under a 52. James Madison's a very strong team. We had them last week, and we had them +2 against Troy, and they won the game. Utah State is an over team. They played Air Force, and they didn't get over. So Utah State there is I think James Madison -1 wins the game. I don't think Utah State – being in the mountains in Utah should help them, but I just like James Madison, I assumes in Virginia. It's a tough. I'd rather have Utah State favored, and I could take James Madison as the dog again. So I'm not sure how strong Utah State is as a dog in this situation, but they are an over team. But they don't have the defense goes to James Madison, so I'd rather bet them. K-State, UCF. Plumlee is out. The backup quarterback, we got to see how good he is. K-State off of a loss. This is the key here is K-State lost at Missouri on a 61-yard field goal on the last play of the game. K-State's normally a very good team, strong defensive team. UCF is an A team, but Plumlee, their quarterback, is like a running quarterback. He's out indefinitely, so that he ain't playing. That leaves you the backup, and then K-State going to be pissed off after the loss. Howard's questionable, though, the quarterback, so keep an eye on that. And we already talked about the others. USC should kill Arizona State. Washington, Cal, maybe you get an over. The running back, for Cal is questionable. Keep an eye on him. If he plays, I think it can go over because he can run it in. If he doesn't play, I think Washington kills them at home. They just destroy everybody. Over 62. I think Cal's an over team. Well, they're an A team this year, but they've been scoring. But just Washington at home is like Oregon at home. Forget about it. And your late game, Hawaii 3 over New Mexico State. Both teams are over. I think this is an over 58 game. New Mexico State with Pavia, they score a lot. Hawaii scores a lot. Neither team knows what a defense is. So only 58. I'll have to check Pavia's status, but definitely like that. So those are your college kind of better plays that make kind of sense. So I have 2 locks going in college. Your free plays, Ohio State, Notre Dame over, and Georgia under. There's another lock, and couple of really good, but so I'm stumbling into games. I'm going, Washington State, Oregon State. I don't even have an opinion. Then I start analyzing and go, I like the dog. So I'm finding those games, and then that's how I'm betting it. I'm not running into the game going, I like this without, like, that's what I did last week with Colorado State. I thought they'd kill them. I was shocked of the score, but now I'm like, okay, you want to fuck with me? Let's party. So now I'm like, okay, here they get Oregon. Oh, you want to fuck with me on Oregon? Okay, let's fuck. Hey, Eric, how are you today? Yeah, Bobby Bow, one of our regulars. Bobby the Bow. Probably getting his Chinese food today. I don't know. Yeah, when Bobby misses class, he owes me some silver. And I keep trying to get him to buy gold because he thinks that silver goes up percentage-wise more. Yeah, 25 goes up percentage to 1,000, but when you buy gold at 2,000 an ounce, it goes to 20,000 an ounce. So the percentage of silver goes up, but the value is you'd rather have the gold. Plus, I'd rather fly to Switzerland with 10 gold ounces that nobody knows I have than a whole boatload of silver that's worth 1/10 of what the gold's worth. Anyway, so that's college football. So again, there's so many games. So again, I'm trying to show you, you've got this whole list, and then you start tweaking which games do I want to think about. So these are the games now. I haven't, the only one I selected so far and bet on is Ohio State over and the Clemson and the Georgia under. That's it. That's the only game I've bet on. I have put 2 locks out. on the site. So that's really where I'm at, and they're pretty strong fucking locks. But that's it. Now I'm going to fill in the blanks and kind of go, okay, I like this one better. Probably will play the Oregon, but I'm not sure if it's over or Oregon. Utah, if Rising plays. See, so you're kind of, this is where I get fucked up. I'll play the game early, not the Rising game. I'll play another game. And then I hear Rising's playing. Now I want to bet Utah, but I've already made these other bets. How many can you make? So I'm kind of just in reserve waiting. Usually in college, I'm betting the over-unders early because the line moves so much. But I'm not even doing that. Well, I've got the Ohio State, Georgia already bet because of the line, but all the other ones I'm kind of very carefully waiting on. But so we'll certainly look for it. I don't play every fucking day. So Coastal Carolina, Georgia State, I doubt I'll play that. McCall's good. Let's see how good Georgia State is. But at this point, I haven't that. And then so that's Thursday game. Friday, there's 4 or 5 games. That's to get you to bet. They want you to bet. I keep hearing the commercials. Well, if you bet MGM, if you play $20 and lose, they'll give you $200 in free play. They're not going to give you $200. You have to play the $200, but they know you're going to lose it because most people do not have our skill set and our ability to pick winners. So they go, we'll give you $200 or free play. So we're going to get you on the 25. We're going to give you $200, which you'll lose. Even if you're lucky to win, you won't know to quit a winner. I mean, that's the problem with gambling and stocks. So you play Microsoft and you buy it at 100 a share and you buy 1,000 shares and it goes up to 150. Do you sell it? No, you don't sell it because you don't know what you're doing. This is the problem most people have. They don't know what they're doing, so they don't know when to sell. They don't know the flags to sell, just like in football. You got to see the flags to say, well, maybe I don't want to play Florida State at Clemson, but I sure as hell want to play that Notre Dame, Ohio State over. So it's avoiding the red flags and playing the green flag games, let's call it. So what do I tell you? Quit a winner. If you're up $1,000 on Saturday and then here comes Sunday, I don't want to see you lose the whole 1,000 back. Because then if you win 500, add it to your bank, add it to your bankroll, add it to your bankroll. Then we can bet more. And there's always going to be these good games every week we can bet on. That's the other reason I don't get too down when I have like a bad week. I don't get too down because there's always these games I find every week that I'm like, fuck, this is the Ohio State over. I mean, that's an easy one. Now, the expected outcome is, a high scoring game, but that's what you're looking for. And then next week we'll find another Ohio State, Notre Dame type of game. And that's really what there's always a handful of those games out there. So that's why you just lose a little of your bankroll. You don't want to bet too much of it. You want to keep it because then next week everything should go. Like in the pros, what the fuck? How does all the games go over but Kansas City, Jacksonville? What was that? Seriously? They're the ones that played 17-9, not Washington, Denver, not the Giants, Arizona. Are you fuck? Joshua Dobbs is lighting up the Giants. Like, oh my God. So that's really where you got to just say, look, I know what I'm doing. It's just a strange week. And off I go this week. And you don't know, you just ignore it. Like, I don't know what happened. The concepts are fine. And as long as you have the concepts, then it's not bad. We'll go through the pros tomorrow. It's Thursday. We'll have Thursday night. We got the Niners and the Giants. And if Arizona puts up 40 on the Giants, I think the Niners can do the same. But good luck, Giants. Barkley's out of that game. So I know Barkley's out, and I know the Chubb is out for Cleveland. He broke his leg. So we know those two things have happened. And we'll see. Derrick Henry is on Tennessee, and Dalvin Cook's now on the Jets. Probably shaking his head going, fuck, I came to the Jets, and then Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so that's it. So your free picks: Notre Dame over with Ohio State, Georgia under, and another good handful of games that I kind of went through here. So like Rice, South Florida, those are too risky at this point. Maybe we find I make a lot of money on Rice. A couple of years ago, they had this really good quarterback, and they would get points, and they would win a lot of games. And so really, if you find that good quarterback on Rice or South Alabama or Liberty, that's what you start betting. I think Liberty's got a good one. But that's what you start betting on, is those type of teams once you see that they got this good quarterback. We already know Ohio State and Alabama. I mean, that we know it's right out there. But it's the Central Michigan's got a good one, and you start pounding it. Like Toledo, we know has got a good quarterback. So that's really what we're looking at. That's really what you're looking to find, or all of a sudden this killer defense comes out. Bears plus 12 against 2. I wouldn't take them against Georgia. I wouldn't bet them against Notre Dame. The Bears plus 12 playing Kansas City. Have you seen the Bears defense lately? I think Kansas City puts up a lot of points. We know Fields can't hit the broadside of a barn. So you're just betting it because it's a big number and you think it's too big. And KC, KC's a weak home favorite. So maybe there's stronger dogs I'd rather play, but I can see your thought on that. Again, I only really want to play a dog that I think can win the game, and there's no way KC can win the game. But I think with 18.5, maybe. I don't know. They only got 17 on Jacksonville, who has no defense, so maybe that might work. The Bears, they lost last week? 20. They lost by 10 to Tampa, and the Baker. I don't know. We're talking pro tomorrow, but so that's really what you're trying to look at. That's why I say look at the box scores, look at the quarterbacks, look at the totals. So if you see like Kansas was high scoring last year, are they high scoring this year? First, I thought they were because of the way they handled Illinois, but then I'm realizing Illinois doesn't have that same defense. Now I'm beginning to wonder about Kansas after 35-24 to Nevada last week. It's a fucking joke. The normal Kansas would have put up 50 on them last year. So I don't know. Again, you've got to separate the years. What Kansas did last year, they were a great over team. Are we seeing it this year? We did in the Illinois game. We didn't last week. So that's what we're looking for. So that's why I do the stats, and then I can see the stats. But then I got to make sure I take out these high school games. And the teams like Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, we see every week. So that's a different story. We don't really need to filter through it, but some of these games we do. All right, so that's college football for week 4. Pros we'll talk to tomorrow. Again, we got the Niners and the Giants. The Giants suck. The Giants gave up, 30 points to fucking Arizona? Are you kidding me? Letting Joshua Dobbs run all over the place. At what point does your defensive coordinator can't figure out the blitz? I guarantee you if the Niners play Arizona and they play them twice, they'll shut them out both times. You've got to pressure these quarterbacks. It's not hard to understand why they don't understand. I mean, you'll see them play the zone, and the quarterback's got 10 minutes, and then he runs around and he gets 10 yards, and you're like, what the fuck? You don't let the quarterback dictate. You pressure the quarterback and sack him, and then that's it. All right, there was a alligator video on yesterday. Didn't really talk much. It was the same old shit. The Russians this and that, credit crisis. So this was Alligator's video that I found he did yesterday, credit crisis. I don't know, one day ago. I don't know. There's really not much in it that I'll have to watch it again. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But the biggest thing you really need to understand is this debt, this 35 trillion in debt has to be paid off. And as Egon and Alligator say, if you kill the debt, you kill the assets associated with it. So because everything's priced in dollars, what is the value of your house if the dollar goes and collapses because of the debt? And it's worth nothing. Then it gets to get repriced in gold. So then gold is money. Gold's the only real money. In the Constitution, gold is always money. And I love when these people sit there and talk about, well, the Constitution was written in 1776. So, that was before the internet and all this. So it really doesn't count. Oh, bullshit. They knew exactly what they were doing. They didn't want central banks. They didn't want fiat currencies. They wanted the money to be gold and silver because they were protecting from the corrupt politicians. That's why they left England in the first place, was the king wanted taxes for everything. Even though they weren't there, well, we want tax. Well, why would I pay you a tax? You're not. What's the benefit of paying you the tax? And I guess it was just defense, right? We'll protect you if there's I don't know what it is, but so they go to war over it, and we win our independence. We write the Constitution. Now everybody's trying to say, well, it doesn't really count. It's old. Bullshit. Just like this Sleeping Beauty bullshit with this girl who's not white, who they don't have dwarfs in it. It's the biggest, stupidest thing I've ever seen. Don't call it Snow White. I mean, if it's not going to be Snow White, don't call it Snow White. It's like Die Hard without Bruce Willis. Then it ain't Die Hard. Or you can't change Die Hard to a different movie. Call it a different movie. Or the Rocky movies. Well, in this one, we're not going to have boxing, and it'll be a girl boxer, and no, then it's not called Rocky. And it's insulting. Oh, well, the woman's supposed to be powerful. No, she's a princess who falls asleep, and the prince has to wake her up, and it's a romance movie. That's the movie. Now, if you want to come out with a different one, fine, but call it something else. Don't try to apologize and say, well, it was in 1930, so it doesn't count. No, it counts. It's bullshit. And again, you're trying to change the market. This is the problem that these idiots have. These woke people are trying to create a market that there isn't one. There's a market for Snow White and Pinocchio and everything. I saw a Little Mermaid movie, but it was like a real one, not a cartoon, unlike Tubi. I said, well, I don't know. It's Little Mermaid. She killed somebody in the movie. It was fucking embarrassing. She worked at a strip club. She kills some guy. I'm like, what does this got to do with the Little Mermaid? Oh my God. It was ridiculous. They're just torching these movies and they're disgracing them. Again, call it something else. So Disney, if you had stock in Disney, you don't know. If you do, you're out of your minds. I won't go. My girlfriend wants to go to the Disney World in Florida. I'm like, no way. I'll go to Universal. I'm not going to Disney. I don't want to be associated with that or seen there because that's not what I'm about. But that's the whole thing. It's like trying to drive an electric car down your throat. There's no demand for it. Stop trying to make a demand for it. Oh, we need it for the cult, for the energy, for the climate. Oh, bullshit. We've been driving regular cars since 1920. There ain't nothing wrong with the planet. Nobody's falling over dying from that. What are you talking about? Climate change. What a joke. It's cold out now. It's not 100 degrees in Michigan every fucking day. Maybe even in the summer, it never got that hot. So I don't know what. They're just making up stuff, try to scare people because the government needs to show they're needed. So when they fuck up the currency, they'll blame Putin or whatever. But so the first critical thing is they're fuck the currency, right? The debt's too high. That's why they can't bail anybody out. That's why the banks are all collapsing because they're now raising interest rates. And it's basically everybody's about to get fucked. And your only out is gold. And that's why I preach it, because it's still very low in value. It hasn't gone way up like the other commodity, like the housing, real estate, and stuff like that. That's why I tell you to buy the gold and silver, because it hasn't moved yet, but it's waiting. And when it moves, it moves. So look out for that. But that's why, because the dollar theoretically in the Constitution, gold and silver are real money because of this fact. They can devalue it, and it's worth shit. This is the value of the dollar. It's worth 2 cents, maybe 1 cent, and that's the problem with it. So everybody's holding on to the dollars with their head buried in the sand, thinking they have $100 when they don't have $100. They got nothing. Your dollar is worthless. The only reason you have value is because you can go to the grocery store and buy, milk and cookies and pop and meat, and the grocer has to accept the money. Legally, they have to accept it, but we all know it's worthless. And the inflation's just simply they're printing the money to zero. So if it's not worth as much, you need more of it to buy the same milk and cookies as it was before. All I know is I watch these old movies and shows. It's like a joke. What was I watching? Something in the 60s. And it's like she goes and gets a pop with a nickel. I mean, that shows you how much the dollar's lost value. Now it's what, $3 for a little. I love the 20-ounce can of pop. Why are they so stupid to buy that? They spend $2.29 or $2.50 on a 20-ouncer, and there's 2 liters that used to be cheaper. Now they're $3. But still, I'd rather have a 2-liter for $3 than a 20-ouncer for $3. Are you kidding me? But anyway, that's really the problem. So the inflation is only you've printed too much money, period. There's no price inflation. Price is the effect of it because it takes more dollars to buy it, but there is no such thing as price inflation. And even the alligator was wrong on calling it price inflation. And I was like rolling my eyes, like I thought this guy knew what he was talking about. He's not a Keynesian, but he doesn't get that. There is no such thing as price inflation. There's no such thing as wage inflation. Prices go up. They went up because of the dollar losing value, but you can't inflate. You're not inflating the tuna fish. The only thing you can do is print too much money. That's the inflation. You've inflated the money supply. It's worthless. That's the inflation. That's it. You can't inflate the chocolate chips or the cornflakes. You're not inflating them. It's just the price is up because the value of the dollar is down. That's all it is, simple terms. But yet, if you notice, gold and silver haven't gone up yet, but everything else has. That should be like, what's going on there? James, have you ever heard of negative interest rates where banks take money out of your savings monthly? When has that ever happened? It's happened in Europe and Japan. But to tell you the truth, it's been negative for the last 50 years because the government's taking value out of your dollar. So the best scenario I can come up with is gold was $35 an ounce in 1971. Now it takes $2,000 to buy the same ounce of gold. So the value of your dollar has went It only took 35, now it takes 2,000. That's the government stealing money from you, but you don't know. So you got $100, you're all, oh, I got $100. Your $100 is worth nothing, right? If 2,000 buys you what 35 did, do the math. That's how you're getting fucked by the central bank, because they're printing so much money that the value is going down. That's the problem. But does anybody explain that to you? What do they say? Inflation, what does the government tell you? Inflation's prices. Oh, the prices are going up. Oh, now the prices are coming down, so inflation's going down. How is inflation going down again? If you've printed $25 trillion of useless paper, and I showed you Egon yesterday, and he says they're just printing it out of thin air. It's all bullshit. It's toilet paper. And the more they print, the less it's worth. Real currency must be limited, right? 100 count Tom Brady card is worth a hell of a lot more than a Tom Brady card that's printed by Topps. That's the point of it. So you should always have a limited currency to keep its value. But because they're basically stealing it from you. So when they print and print and print, so they can pay the debt and pay themselves, and JP Morgan shoves it in his pocket and they shove it in the stock market. So they're printing money to put it in the stock market. What the fuck is that? That's so illegal. It's a joke. But when JP Morgan runs the government, it doesn't really fucking matter because nobody will prosecute themselves. So if I'm a bank and I run the government and I do something illegal, like Bernie Madoff, I'm not going to send myself to jail because I'm the one who's the judge and jury. So therefore, they get away with all this shit, which is why I don't trust anything with Wall Street. All those people with Madoff, what a joke that was. Okay, you didn't know it was a scam, really. So I'm going to give you $20,000, Madoff, and I'm going to get 15% a month from you. And if I ask you, how in the fuck are you doing that? And you say, don't ask me or I'll give you your money back. What do I think? Oh, you're a magician. And I get 15%. So now it's, well, why would I ask? The money's rolling in every month. I'm getting 15%. So I won't ask. If I'm too stupid to realize it's a Ponzi scheme, that's my fault. Because there's no way that's possible. It's like me hitting 100% of my games. It's impossible for me to go 100%. It can't happen. Picking 80 is incredible, but picking 100 is impossible. There's always Kansas City not going over. There's always that game in there. So that's what you've got to understand. So then when he goes under because of the housing crisis, which you should have saw coming, I saw it in 1999 when they said, hey, yeah, anybody can get credit. At that point, the bells and whistles went off for me, but I'm an economist. So I look for that and I can follow the steps, right? I can see the path. You're printing money, there's inflation, buy gold. It's very simple. This is the creation of what I do 5 steps down the road. And so how did you think you're getting 15% on Madoff when you couldn't do it with anybody else? Right? So then when it goes to zero, how the fuck, all of a sudden your investment goes to zero and he goes broke. So this is the problem. How they didn't know it was a Ponzi scheme is beyond me. And then when it goes out, now everybody's crying, oh, why didn't the SEC warn me? Because they were in on it. Why didn't JP Morgan warn me? Because they were in on it. I love how Madoff's lawyer was like the vice president of the SEC. So do you think the SEC is going to do anything? No, they're all getting paid off to look the other way and not do anything. Then I love the excuse, well, the SEC didn't do it, so it must be legit. It ain't legit. You know it ain't legit. You're getting 15% when nobody else, if you ask any other guy, cannot do what he's doing. It's obviously a Ponzi scheme, but you're making money on it. So don't cry. You could have pulled your money off the table like in craps, right? You're hitting the sixes, you're hitting the eights, you're hitting the tens. You know the seven's coming. So it's how long do you want to keep your money out there before the seven hits? And then are you going to cry that the seven hit and say, oh, the seven hit and that's it? Or are you going to sit there and say, what's going on with that? I don't know, So in other words, I could have pulled my money. I didn't. You're going to cry to the casino the seven hit? No. So why are you crying that Madoff Ponzi scheme when you knew it was a Ponzi scheme? I walk you through how I pick my bets so you know it's legit. It's honest. I pick losers. I pick winners. So it's not, but if I don't say, if I just say, well, don't worry, we're going to win and we win every week, but I don't tell you how, and I don't even show you the games. He wasn't even showing him the games. He'd come up with it after. Then of course you know what happens. So that's my point. It's it's just a joke that everybody didn't know was a Ponzi scheme. So of course it was. So why does everybody get upset that they lost when they knew they were making money hand over fist? Then it was okay. It was a Ponzi scheme. Anyway, but between that and the Enron and the all the real estate trusts that went bankrupt, I don't trust Wall Street. It's totally corrupt. It's totally illegal. Everything they do is about commission. They just want to sell you commission. That's the only thing I got out of that Wolf on Wall Street. It was the stupidest movie I ever saw. And I hate Leonardo DiCaprio, but that was the only thing it was like, don't let, if the guy's winning, don't let him cash out. Let him, give him another stock. It's about them thinking they're going to get rich. So it's the mindset, but don't tell them to get out. Don't tell them to quit a winner. Tell them, okay, you made 30 points on Microsoft. Here's Tesla, go buy that. And so you keep moving them into other things to get commission. It's about them making commission. It's not about you making money. So why the fuck would you listen to them? And do you think if you're getting a stock, by the time you got the stock, the Warren Buffets and the Gates have already bought it, and you're buying it 10 points higher, sort of like in football. If the spread's 3 and now it's 9, everybody already laid the points. You're coming in at the end. And so why would you want to do that? So just be careful of that. James, so is the AI stock bubble comparable to what Madoff did? No, because the Madoff didn't sell anything, right? You gave him money, he gave you money back, but he didn't make money. He just took other people's money and gave you part of that. What AI is what? I mean, is it even profitable? And keep in mind, AI is not new. It's been out there for years. Is it really worth what it's going to be said? But let's even take a quicker look and say, wait a minute, but the economy's fucked. The economy is zero. Guess what's going to happen to the stock market? It's going to collapse because 36 trillion is held by foreign investors, Asia, Europe, stuff like that. Once they realize that the US dollar is worthless, they will pull their money out of the stock market. $36 trillion pulled out, the stock market collapses. Why the fuck do you want to be in stocks? So the AI stock bubble isn't even a question because I wouldn't want to be in any stock. It's all going to collapse. You must understand that. Once people realize the dollar's worthless because of the 35 trillion in debt, the high inflation, and don't kid yourself, it ain't 2%. Once people realize that, because it's not measured in prices, it's measured in how that you've just printed $20 trillion of this. without production. So if I go to work and I make 100 grand, that's okay. That's not inflation. But if you just print $10 million, you just print $1 trillion to pay the Fed or pay your buddies and buy stocks or whatever JP Morgan does, that's inflation. You can't just print money out of thin air for no reason. That's inflation. That's going to hurt the value of the money. And that's what the Keynesians, that's the problem with the Keynesians. They think they can just keep printing and it won't have an effect. And us Austrians go, no, you're fucking it up. You're inflating it. They don't even understand that. They think, well, it's based on prices. And we're going, no, it's the money. You're printing the money to zero. That's what you're doing, fellas. So you have no chance. There is no chance. There is no interest rate that will stop the inflation. That's why I call it the Titanic. As the Titanic is sinking and the water is in, you cannot say, well, it won't. I was watching like the little blurb on it on Netflix, and it's like, well, this ship can't sink. And the guy goes, oh, believe me, it's made out of steel. It is sinking. The water's over 5 bulkheads, and it's going to sink in an hour. And the guy's like, but it can't sink. And he's like, yeah, well, watch it. So you stay on, but it's sinking. And that's this is the Titanic. It's hit the iceberg. It's sinking. But people don't want to see the water like on the Titanic. They didn't want to recognize that it was really going to sink because they're under the impression it's unsinkable. This, I can assure you, is zero. It's already zero. Yes, we are already in a recession. Yes, this has no value. Yes, inflation's about 20%. That's the reality of where we stand now. As soon as the foreigners pull their money, because they'll realize the dollar's worthless, then they pull all their stocks. And I believe whatchamacallit's already done. The guy, the BlackRock guy, Fink, has already pulled like $2 trillion out and put it in overseas. So he's in whatever. Again, it doesn't matter. They're all going out. The debt is 260 trillion worldwide. Every currency is going to zero. So there's no safe haven. It's not, I'm going to go into the yen. I'm not going to go into the yuan. I'm going to go into the euro. I'm going into the British or Swiss franc. It ain't going to help you. They're all in the same situation because they're all run by George Soros, who wants to destroy the world. So he's basically got his people involved that are all Keynesians, that are all printing the money to zero, and he's laughing about it. You're only out at all is gold and silver. That's it. I was talking to Jenna today, my Ukraine girlfriend, and said, "Oh, my boy is in college. He just started. He's 16. He just started college in the Ukraine." And I go, "What's he taking?" She says, "Economics." I says, "Keynesian or Austrian?" I'm curious what they teach in the Ukraine. I would bet Keynesian. And I said he should learn free market economics and understand gold. I gave her, she has gold and silver I've given her. So she's got to say, I said, if the only thing he gets out of the class is he's got to understand gold and silver, like I taught you, because I guarantee you the whole world learns Keynesian economics, which is government control, because the communists want to win and the government wants to control everybody. And it can never work because you can't control the market. We control the market. If we decide we don't want to buy tuna fish at $5 a can, we don't buy it. It's just on the shelf till they lower the price. We control it. We control the prices based on what we buy and sell. It's all an auction. It's all what we want. If we buy it, they'll put it back. They'll add more to the shelf and keep the price. If we don't, it sits on the shelf. They go out of business, so they got to lower their price so we can buy it. So I wouldn't spend $3 on a 2-liter Coke. And then what do you see? Oh, buy one, get one free, which in other words saying is, oh, it's really $1.50, but you got to buy 2 to get the $1.50. Oh, well, prices have fallen, but you got to buy 2. It's the same thing with Fritos and Oreos and Lucky Charms. They're all like $5 a box, but if you buy If you buy one, you get one free or one at a half price. It's all that way because people are not going to do it. So if nobody buys Lucky Charms at $5 a box, they have to lower their price. They don't have a choice because if the box sits on the shelves, they go out of business, and that's the problem. So we control the market, but we got to know we control the market. So I always say, don't buy it, substitute. If you substitute Lucky Charms for the Meyer brand or the Costco brand, then you do that, and then it forces Lucky Charms. I think General Mills and Nabisco are doing a little too aggressive price fixing. They make their price a little higher, but I noticed like even my lettuce now is like the red lettuce was like $1.50. Now it's like $2.50. Like what the fuck? And then the Chinese, my General Chow went from 11 to 13. Now it's 15. And I said to her, "You better be careful. Are you losing a lot of customers?" She said, "No, they realized that my price went up." I go, "You're missing the point. You try marking this at $25, you won't have any customers. You've got to understand the market. And, you can only pass it along for so long. But if you try to make General Chow $25, I ain't going there. Forget it. I'll go buy chicken and cook it myself. Because it's amazing. I can still go to the grocery store, and I just bought the little chicken breasts. They're still $1.99, $2.99, and you get 4 or 5 breasts for $10. So why the fuck would I pay $25 for General Chow? I don't need it. I can go and cut up my chicken breast and put some honey and some French dressing and mix it up and broil it and have my own General Chow or my own barbecue chicken. So I'm willing to cook, which definitely helps me. But yeah, I mean, some of these restaurants, they're trying to pass the cost on. They don't realize they can't. You can only pass it on so much till we say, fuck you. And once we say fuck you to you and you start losing customers, how do we know you've lowered your prices? We won't. So I'm warning her, you better be careful. Just like I warned the barbecue place, you want to start selling your ribs for $45 a slab, you're not going to have any customers. So he's been good at keeping it about $26, $27 for the slab. He's listening to me. He like took the wet naps that you wipe your hands with after the meal at barbecue because they get all barbecuey. So he took those away and some of the other stuff. But basically, he's not raising those ribs. He's being very careful on that. Because I said the market, you've created the market. So General Chow market's now at 15. I'm sure she'll lose customers. I might not go every week. I might start going every second or every third week. I don't need to go every week, but at $13, I didn't mind. At 15, or I might not get the egg roll, which is $1.95. I'm surprised she didn't raise that. So I get the General Chow and an egg roll. It was $17 with tax. Last time it was like 20. I said, what's going on? And now it's, so, okay, you want to raise that? I don't get the egg roll. So I still spend the 15. But now so you're not making the money on the egg roll. She's pretty busy, but believe me, when people start seeing this price increase, they're going to start going less. So we all know your prices went up, but we don't give a fuck about your costs going up. We only care what it costs us to buy it. And if you make it to like the Fritos, $5 for a bag, I'm not buying it. Not that I buy a lot of chips, but I'm not going to pay $5 for a bag of Fritos. And I noticed that at the gas stations a lot. Used to be 99 cents. Now they're like $2.19. And then they'll say, well, now there's 4 ounces in there. And I'm like, I don't buy that. It's still very expensive. So as you stop buying them, they've got all this inventory that they must sell to keep in business that they won't be able to sell. That's why a lot of companies will be going out of business because their costs go up, but you cannot pass it on to the consumer. Little stuff you can, $1, $2 stuff for a while, But as the inflation hits stronger and stronger, they're lucky gas hasn't gone up too much. I'm still paying $3.50 for a gallon. My gas is $6-7. I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be Chinese. I'd be at the grocery store every day, or buying different things. So you substitute out of it. So you buy other similar goods and services that doesn't cost you as much. But the funny part is gold hasn't gone up 1 cent with all the inflation. Gold's actually gone down sometimes. So why is gold the only product that hasn't gone up? Isn't that kind of interesting? And that's because it's price fixed. Gold should be at least 10,000 an ounce right now. Silver about 1,000 an ounce. I mean, if Orioles went to $5, double, then why isn't the rest? Why is everything else going up, but gold and silver not? And even gas really hasn't gone. It was $3 and still like $3.30, $3.40, not where it should be with what's happening. So that's where the price fixing comes into gold, which is why I'm adamant about buying it, because once the price fixing comes off, I mean, it shoots to 20 grand very, very quickly and very, very easily. The U.S. can't compete with gold. They want you in the dollar because JP Morgan has the monopoly on it because he owns the Fed. So he can't compete with gold. So if gold goes up, people will start moving into gold out of the dollar, and he doesn't want that because the whole Ponzi scheme of Wall Street is what? Buy stocks, buy bonds so we can make commission and buy the real estate trust and sell the houses and sell the cars. That's what the whole economy is about. And once it goes to gold, all the banks go out, all the Wall Street goes out, government goes out, and they don't want that. So they're grasping straws. Wall Street's got to be shitting in their pants because who wants stocks when you can buy gold and make a fortune at it with no risk? That's really what's going on here. Is they don't want you into gold. They don't want gold going up where you can actually make money in gold. So they keep it down. So you think this is where the Ponzi scheme is. They don't want you to think gold has a value. And what I'm saying is gold's value is huge. It's so much higher. If fucking Fritos went from $2 to $5 because the dollar lost value, that's inflation. Why isn't gold doing it? Because it's not at a free market and it's being manipulated by JP Morgan. But the Russians are on our side. This is the one time we're rooting for the Russians and the Chinese. They want gold going up because they want to sell their oil. They don't want to get this shit for oil. They want to get gold for oil. They want to get real value for their oil. So they want gold to go up. And if they want gold to go up, now I'm on Putin's team for this one. He's got 35,000 tons of gold. Okay, I need the price to go up. I don't need any more gold. Now I need the price to go up because I got a war to pay for. Same thing with China. They got a housing market that collapsed. They got 60,000 tons of gold, so they need the gold to go up for the housing market. So they're trying to be polite to the U.S., but at the end of the day, the U.S. is not going to be able to keep the price down. And it's all Wall Street, and the banks know that once you get out of this, they're fucked. What's a bank going to do if they don't have money? That's the purpose of a bank, right? You give them money, they give you interest on it. But if they don't have any money, then they don't have a business. There's no demand for their product. No demand for the product, there's no business. The same thing with Wall Street. If nobody wants to buy stocks because they're afraid it's going to go to zero because all the Europeans and Asians are going to pull their stocks out because they don't want them in US dollars, what happens to Wall Street? Nobody's going to buy the real estate trust. Nobody's going to buy the stocks and bonds. They get no money in commission. They're fucked. So it's not in their best interest for gold to go up either. That's the fight we're fighting, is them. We're fighting them because they don't want to give up on their monopoly of, we're making all this money. from these idiots who think they can make money on stocks, and and they're making the commissions. So the AI stock bubble comparable to what? No, they're totally different, but you don't want to be in stocks at all. Madoff was just basically wasn't have anything to do with stocks. It was just, I'll give him $100, he gives me back 20. You give him $500, he gives me. That's where he gets the 20 from, is you. So there was no investing at all. He was just taking new money to pay old, which is basically what stocks are, and basically what the bank does. That's a new deposit. So if everybody pulls their deposits, there's nothing left at the bank. They can't operate because they need your money to loan it out. So in theory, I give them 20 grand, they give me 3%, and they take my 20 grand and lend it out to you to buy a car at 7%, and they make 4% on my money. That's how a bank works. But if they don't have my 20, they can't loan it out. And the more they just print out of thin air, the more that's inflation. And we're all fucked anyway. So we're all fucked. The only out is gold and silver. But getting people to realize that and buy gold and silver is like pulling hair. I don't know why it's so difficult or hard to understand. I guess you got to understand the concept. You're fighting Wall Street and the banks and JP Morgan. You're fighting the people who want to keep us in the dollar. That's basically what you're doing. And the dollar is gone. It's worthless. It's printed to zero. But those people who want you in the dollar don't want you in gold. So that's the fight. So we're fighting those people who want to keep the dollar around, but it doesn't work. They're all Keynesians, right? They don't understand that you can't keep printing it. So therefore, instead of embellishing gold and you treating it as another investment like Microsoft, they think it's evil and they don't want anything to do with it because they know they don't make commission on it. I don't know why they don't make commission on it. And then you won't. Why would anybody be in the stock market or be in the bond market? Why would anybody be in the bond market or in the bank to try to earn 3% on 100 grand when you're going to earn 100% on gold? And they just, so I don't know if they're all that stupid or they just think we're that stupid. But I know if you call a financial advisor or a stockbroker, guess what he's doing? 60% stock, 40% bonds. Doesn't understand what inflation is. It could hit him. He has no clue what inflation is. I mean, that's how stupid these guys are. So that's the real thing. Plus, they don't get commission on it. They're salesmen. They are there to take your money and earn commission on it. That's their job, not to protect you. I protect you. They take your money. And even if you get lucky and you bought Microsoft and it went from 100 to 150, they won't tell you to sell it. So you never really win, right? So I got 50,000. It's in Microsoft. It goes up from 100 to 150. Now I got 75,000. All right, I want my money. No. Here's another. Go buy Tesla and go buy this and go buy that. And you never get your money out. So you're playing craps and you hit your 6 and you hit your 9 and you hit your 10 and you hit your 5. They never tell you to take the money off the table because when the 7 hits, you lose everything on the table because the 7 destroys it. And that's what they don't tell you. So when this market collapses, we're shocked. Go watch The Assault on Wall Street. I lost a lot of money too on the REITs going to zero. So that's the problem. They'll lie to you. They just want your commission. They don't have your best interest at heart at all. And they're all a bunch of Madoffs. The whole fucking thing is Madoffs. So if you understand that, why you'd ever play stock is beyond me. You want to have a investment with zero risk and a huge return, you buy gold coins. You don't buy ETFs. You don't buy gold stock. You go to the coin store, you buy your ounces of gold, $2,000 an ounce. When it goes to 50,000, now you made your money, but you don't want this So you don't want to sell it for these. You want to sell it when the new currency comes out, or you buy a house or a car with it or something substantial. That's what you're going to do with it. But you're not going to lose, right? There's huge demand for gold. The only way, so the reason this goes out is there's no demand anymore. The market says this is worthless. You inflated it to zero. I don't want it. Then it goes out of value. Gold is every central bank in the world, but the U.S. is buying it and buying it and buying it, especially at 2,000 an ounce. They're all buying it and buying it and buying it. There's huge demand for gold. It can't go to zero as long as you have demand, and they can't print it or copy it. You can't print gold. You can print the dollars. So if you can't print it, it can't be inflated. It can't go to zero, and the demand will always keep you with the price. And at $2,000, the demand's huge because the price is so fucking cheap. It's ridiculous. So that basically, ladies and gentlemen, is economics. This is the problem with what's happening. There's two schools. There's the Austrian school and the Keynesian school. Keynesian doesn't work. It's already been proven. And the Austrian works. It's Adam Smith. That's the only one you should want. So if anybody ever brings up economics, say, are you Austrian or Keynesian? And if they say we don't know, or they use fancy words, they're Keynesians. That's why I can't listen to half these idiots on YouTube, because they're all Keynesians. They don't even know it. But an Austrian will talk Adam Smith. They'll talk to buy gold. Anybody that says buy gold is an Austrian economist, or if they say they're an economist. And if they say, oh, no, the dollar will never go out, then they're Keynesians. And like I say, that's what the Romans said. Oh, Rome will never go out. We'll always be the Roman Empire. How has that been doing for the last 2,000 years? So basically, in a nutshell, that's economics. It's free market. It's let the buyer make the market. So if I want chocolate milk, then you sell me chocolate milk. If I don't want chocolate milk, then it doesn't sell, it goes out. And if you make the price of chocolate milk $20, nobody's going to buy it, then it goes out. And there's going to be a whole lot of that coming up, where they're going to try to raise prices. People are going to say, fuck you. I went to Big Boys the other day, and it was like $13 for a little double hamburger. And I think I got fries with it or something, or I got a salad instead. I'm thinking $13? I can buy 3 pounds of 86% ground sirloin at the grocery store at $6. So it's $18. I get 3 pounds of it. I get 10 burgers, good sized burgers, not the little thin bullshit you're selling, and you're selling it at 13. How long are you going to be in business for? And people go to get out, and people go so they don't have to cook. I get that. But I'd rather go to a Coney Island where it's still $6 for a half-pound hamburger, although God knows what's inside the hamburger. That's the other part of it. Are you really eating like 86% ground sirloin, or is there any real cow meat in these Coney Island burgers? That's why I go to the store. I know exactly what I'm buying. It looks good. And then I cook it up, and I have it for 3 or 4 days. But that's really what's happening. So again, everything's an auction. It's what do you buy? And then certain companies like General Mills and Nabisco want to raise the prices, and you just got to substitute them and say, fuck it. I'm going to buy the Costco brand. It's $2 cheaper. As far as I know, it's the same thing. But the key is, and when I go swimming, I tell the lifeguards, I said, got to buy gold and silver. Oh, I don't have the money. Well, then you got to get $100 and buy 3 or 4 ounces of silver. Because when they're worth $2,000 a piece, your little $100 investment turns into 10 grand. Otherwise, you're totally fucked. You're not going to have any money. If you don't have any money now, you ain't going to have any money in 6 months when the shit hits the fan. So keep in mind, every currency is fucked. So it's not like you can go and say, I'm going to buy euros or Swiss francs or German or British pounds. You're fucked in any currency. So your only out's gold and silver, and then that will protect you from the Titanic going to the bottom of the ocean, which is exactly what's happening. So that's what's happening. Everybody says when, very soon. Just understand that the more people realize what's happening, the more they'll try to buy gold and silver. And the more they try to buy it, there's not going to be any out there. So you won't be able to get it. And the price will go up because demand goes up and you won't be able to get it at 2,000. Then it'll be 10 and you're going to be trying to get it. So what most people do is they wait till they see the price go up. Then they all run into it because they don't trust, they don't believe. So if you tell them that now, they won't believe you. But if gold opened tomorrow at $4,000 an ounce, you'd have a nice little avalanche to the gold store. And then people would go, gold really does have a value, and they go buy it. Right now they go, well, gold doesn't move. Why should I buy it? But once they see it move, then everybody jumps in because then it's like, oh, yeah, I guess it really does. So they're too stupid to understand it. So they really need to see the price go to then say, oh, yeah, that's what I need to do. Hi, the Real D. Life is real life Monopoly game. I don't know if it's Monopoly game, but it's controlled. Put it this way: it's controlled by Darth Vader, right? The Darther is running. He's running the show, and he's greedy, and he wants to keep printing money, and he doesn't want you to know it's fake and it's all zero. Maybe it's the Wizard of Oz. He doesn't want you to see underneath the curtain, so you don't know. So you're in the dark, going, what's really going on? And I'm lifting the curtain, and you got to understand that that's what I've got my master's in. So, and you hear my football stuff and my other analysis. So you got to go, he knows what he's talking about. So that's why I bring on Peter Egon to say, look, it's not just me, it's them. And then you know that. But this is a gold monopoly game, the Real D. This is based on, you got to have gold if you want to win the game. You got to have gold. Real D. So I've got 2 locks going so far. I'm going to have a lot of good plays. Walk through college today. The free play again is Ohio State, Notre Dame over with the under in the Georgia game. What else is new? That's your free play. And again, on the site's 2 locks. And I'm about to post 4 or 5 really strong college games. And then I have one really strong pro I already posted, and then I'll probably have. But I'm going to be very gentle. I'm going to go gentle through the good night in the pros, as Rodney Dangerfield would say. And that one, and Back to School, he's reading the poem, and he must go gentle through the good night. And then he says, I don't take shit from nobody. And that's what we got with, I did the pro stats, and it's like, no, wait a minute, Houston's an over team. Kansas, Indy's an over team. They got no defenses. And the key about betting overs and unders is the strong defenses are under and the strong offenses are over. And I tried to play weak defenses because they had terrible quarterbacks, but even the terrible quarterbacks look good against the weak defenses. And that's the lesson learned. So we learned an important lesson, but that's okay. We'll bounce back. It's early in the year, but that's what I'm looking to do. So you have that, Real D. Appreciate you, Professor. You're teaching me money is an illusion. We killed and cheat and steal for it. Well, that's what they don't want you to know that. Wall Street doesn't want you to know that because they make, what do you hear? I mean, go to the movie. What's that one? With Jeremy Irons, Demi Moore. What was that movie? Margin Call. Go to Margin Call. Go to Attack on Wall Street. Watch those movies. What do they say? Well, we'll make our millions and millions, and we don't care. We'll fuck everybody over. And, we're going to fuck our customers. I don't care about the customers. All I care about is the company. All I care about is us making $80 million. Fuck the customer. That's real. It isn't a movie. It's exactly what they do. They run the government. The banks run the government. And if you notice, the banks bail themselves out. So they take all the risks, they lose. And even when they lose, they just bail themselves. They just give me more money. So it'd be like last week, we lost with the free pick, right? We all had the free pick and it lost. Well, if we were a bank, we would just print the money we lost and said, "Oh, okay, we lost $1,000, but you know what? We just printed 1,000, so we didn't really lose anything." That's what Wall Street is. That's what the banks are. They are in control of the government and they are in control of the money supply. J.P. Morgan is the Federal Reserve who prints the money. So if they need more money, they print it. The problem is you cannot, that's the Keynesian playbook, but the Austrian playbook says, but if you do that, you inflate the money to zero. And that's the beautiful part of it's sort of like checks and balances. They're fucking themselves without realizing it. They should never have got off the gold standard. They could have manipulated that to print a million here and a million there or stole the gold. But what they've done now is they fucked themselves because they keep printing, and you've got a $35 trillion debt, which can't be paid off, and you can't print it. You cannot print $35 trillion to pay off the debt. It won't work because then the $35 trillion you printed will be worth nothing. And so you're paying off a debt of zero. And if you do that, the assets that are tied to the debt are worth zero. So when the money goes out, so does the asset values. The houses, the cars have no value because they're only worth something in dollars. So you reprice it in gold is what's going to happen. And but they've fucked themselves, and I love it is they don't realize it. Warren Buffett and Gates and all these idiots have got all this money, but they don't realize it's all worthless. It's all fucking created out of thin air. Doesn't work. You have to work for it. So if I go to work and get a paycheck, that money's good. But if somebody just prints me $1 million, the money's bullshit. It's not real. It's printed money, which is why there's so many billionaires. It's not real. All this stock guy, all these billionaires are stock guys. It's all a scam. It makes Madoff look like a Boy Scout. So, but you got to understand that and realize money's worthless. So I get into gold and silver because it's not worthless. That's the whole point of it. You get into the gold and silver because it has value. This is worthless. This is $1. It's fucking worthless. This isn't worth anything. This is the same as my Kleenex. This and this are worth the same. Absolutely nothing. But you don't know that, right? You think, oh, it's got a number on it. It says it's $100. It's got a president on it. It's worth 100. But what is the 100 worth? Go to the grocery store lately, and how much do you get for $100? Go to the grocery store in the 70s. What do you get for $100? You fill up five grocery carts. Now you go with $100. You don't even fill up half the grocery cart. It doesn't buy you the same. The value of it's gone. Like I said, $35 for an ounce of gold in 71. Now the ounce of gold, the same ounce, costs you $2,000. So the value of the dollar has gone from 35 to now it needs 2,000. That's the bottom line, Mr. Stone Cold. That's how bad the dollar's gone down. And it should be about 5,000 to the dollar if they would let gold run. And right now they price fix it to keep it at 2,000, but it's really, I would say it's about $10,000 for an ounce of gold. If Orioles are $5, that's now worth 10,000. So that's how bad the dollar's gone. It's worthless. All paper currencies that are not backed by gold, and none of them are, they're worthless. Understand that. The only survival you have is gold and silver because they're real assets. So you can get a Mantle card, you can get a Rolex, you can buy a Picasso, you trade in this bullshit dollar, and you got a Rolex. So you give them 40,000 of these for a Rolex. Okay, you're safe. The Rolex will be worth it. But the Rolex has already gone up. Gold hasn't. So when gold goes through the roof, now you're fighting the government who's like holding on by their fingertips. They can't let gold go up because then the dollar is exposed and their whole Ponzi scheme is exposed. And they've held it for 50 years. But here come the BRICS to save us because they're saying, no, we want gold for oil. We don't want this useless crap. And Putin's already said it's like a candy wrapper. He said that's what a dollar is. It's like a candy. It's like a Snickers wrapper. It's worthless. So here come the Russians to actually save us by letting their gold price go up, and then we'll have to match it, and then it's 10,000 an ounce. Then good luck finding it. So my warning is to find it now and buy as much as you can at 2,000 of this worthless dollars. Because once it hits 10, are you going to be able to go buy 5 ounces of it? It's going to cost you 50,000 of this bullshit paper. But if you understand the concept, this paper is worthless and the gold and silver is so undervalued and it's a real asset and it's real money. If you understand that basic concept, then you'll be okay. You'll have saved yourself. Because it's all the people who are going to Madoff and go, oh, I didn't know it was a Ponzi scheme. I thought I just made 15% every month. That was pretty normal. Like, what the fuck? Where did you go to school? So then the Madoff people cry when they find out it's a Ponzi scheme and they don't have any money. Well, come on, man. You didn't know when you're getting 15% every month that it's a Ponzi scheme? Oh, I made 15% and you didn't pull your money? Well, then you're an idiot. That's like saying when the 7 out hits at the crap table, oh wait, they're pulling all my money, all my 6s and 8s that are now on the pass line or on the come line. Well, wait, why are they taking those? Because they 7'd out. That's what Madoff did. He 7'd out, and that's what the dollar's doing. It's 7 out. So don't act like an idiot. Oh, I can't believe this happened. Bullshit. You got to know that's exactly what's happening. The 7's coming. So don't act surprised when it hits and all your dollars go to zero, just like it craps. Bobby Bo, somebody was asking about you. I'm doing economics now. Jerome Powell is dumping the markets. What does that mean? Talk English. He just spoke at 2:30 saying that there's a long way to go to drop inflation. He'll never drop inflation. Why do you listen to that when I'm telling you the playbook? He cannot drop inflation because inflation is printing this worthless toilet paper. And once you print 20 trillion of these, you aren't stopping, and you cannot stop inflation because it's got nothing to do with prices. It's about this. And once you've printed 20 trillion of these, it's the big snowball going down the hill. You're fucked. There's no way. How are you going to stop a huge snowball coming down the hill? You just get out of the way because you can't stop it. Who was asking about me? Mark McGuire? No, one of our students says, "Is Bobby Bo a regular?" And then, here, David. So what? See, is Bobby Bo as one of your regulars? So go up to here. I don't know if you can see my arrow. Go to the top of the page above Eric. There's a David. So what see it's Bobby, he speaks like you. So what see it's Bobby Bo as one of your regulars. So he probably says, so I see Bobby Bo as one of your regulars. So I don't know who this David is. Is he a ball player or something? But he's so I said, yeah, he's he helps teach the class. But yeah, so no, it was this David guy. I don't know if David's still on, but yeah, he was looking for you. Now Luke knows you're here. Or like asking about the hospital again. God, hope not. I got a WhatsApp from Kenzie. She says, now I'm going back to Vegas. And I'm just laughing like, oh, well, you were never in Redford because it's a piece of shit city that somebody with money like a porn star has. You're going to stay in Troy or some of the nicer areas in Detroit. You're not going to be in the slums. She She looked at my address and she picked a city close to it. Like, I'm going to give her money so she'll come to me. So I'm ready to say, okay, I'll go to Vegas. What hotel are you going to be at? But anyway, I was thinking of going to Vegas, but I don't know. Anyway, well, on WhatsApp, again with this bullshit number, and it's not her picture, it's a picture of flowers. It's like as fake as you can get. It's the same picture that's here. It's like a tree. Like, who puts I mean, my picture on WhatsApp is a blue Ferrari that I took with Carmen in Monte Carlo. And that's my picture, or my picture of me at Niagara Falls when there's a rainbow out in the sun and you can see the falls and the rainbow. And you see me. That's a real person. When betting in Vegas, you get paid as soon as the game ends, right? Yes. You go wait in line and the game goes to 0, you won, you go, here's the ticket, and they give you the money. That's the best part of Vegas is getting paid. And they don't 1099 you, because when I won all that money, I was a little afraid I was going to get 1099, so I was only cashing in 1,000 at a time. She says, "Oh, you can cash it all. We won't 1099 you," and I had like 5,000, so I was like, "Oh, okay." But I still went 3 times because it was fun to give them 1/3 of the tickets, get 1,500, 2,000, and then a couple hours later go back and get more. It was so much fun to cash like that. I went to one of the guys at the sports book, and I showed him my 11 win ticket. And I said, "You ever seen this before?" And he goes, "Very, very rarely do I see a winning ticket, 11 team winner." And it was probably one of the easiest bets I ever made in my life. But yeah, we talked college. So the free pick is the Notre Dame Ohio State over and the Georgia under. I'm strictly sticking to the gold picks this week. I was embarrassed last week, so I don't give free picks to lose, and I don't want you guys to lose money. But you got to buy more gold. So as I said, Bobby, did you talk to your attorney about getting your contract paid in gold instead of worthless U.S. dollars? The one with, what was it, the Pirates or the Mets that are paying you until you're, 90 years old? I would strongly advise to get it changed into, I want payment in gold. What are they going to do next year when the dollar is worthless? What are they going to pay you? If it's gold, you'll get paid in gold. But if it's the dollar, what are you going to get? You're going to get nothing. You're going to get zero. You're going to get toilet paper. So be careful with that. So yeah, that was it. So we went through all the college games and a couple of strong ones. We figured you're on LSU again. Let's see, the Bobby Bow game, LSU and Arkansas. LSU laying 17, over under a 55. So I figured I like the over in the game. I figured you're all over LSU, especially the way Arkansas's quarterback looked last week, George Jefferson. So I figured you're on LSU, and it's a Saturday night in Baton Rouge game. It's a 7:00 game, so they ought to kill Arkansas. And if Arkansas wins, you're gonna be scratching your head, going, "What the fuck? They lose to BYU and they beat LSU at LSU? Like, that won't make any sense to you." It's not your fault that these sorry bastards are unreliable, Professor. Well, I know it's not my fault, but it's my fault. I gotta pick better games. I mean, I should have. I think I told people to take Buffalo over Oakland after Buffalo lost, and they killed them. So I think enough people read through the lines there to take Buffalo. I know somebody asked me point blank, "Are you picking Buffalo today?" And I said yes, and I had them picked. I had them with Philadelphia. That was my first teaser, Philly and Buffalo, and Philly had won Thursday. So yeah, I already had Buffalo. And then I played them again at 8.5. So I had them twice. But yeah, that's what you want off of a loss. And then I talked about the prime game. So here's my analysis on Oregon against primetime. Bet it over. Bet it way over. It's 70. So go over 64. They gave up 35 points to Colorado State. I don't really think that Oregon gets less than 50, especially at home. And the question is, how much points is Colorado going to score to get to the over? I think they can get 20, and I think it'll be an 80 or 90 point game. But there's Oregon's going to score 50 on them, and they're going to blitz prime. So this will be a very interesting to see if Colorado can handle this nightmare, because this is Oregon, man. Oregon is the 3:00 game, so good luck. But if this game doesn't hit 90, I'll be shocked. That's one for you, Bobby. So the LSU game and the Oregon Colorado over. Good Lord. But watch the video. I go through like a lot of key games. There's a lot of them. As I was reading, the more I'm reading and the more I'm analyzing, the more I'm finding games. So I've already posted 2 locks on the site, and off we go. So anyway, you come on at the 3-hour mark when I'm exhausted. Yesterday was 4 hours. I had to take a nap. I was so tired after. There was an alligator video, but it really didn't say much. But I watched it yesterday. This is a new one. Credit Crisis by Alligator McLeod. And he basically says the same thing, the inflation and the economy and this and that and the debt. So it's not really much new. I mean, he doesn't, it's the same old story, right? There's inflation, buy gold. Gold's the only way out. They keep asking him the same fucking question. Well, what would you do to preserve your wealth? Well, buy gold and silver. Well, yeah, we've heard it about 100 times now. That we get. So that's what this one was. And it's not a long, it's 51 minutes. I watched it and just like, okay, yeah, I've been there, done that. Yep. And, he named the Russian guy, Sergio Glaskev, and the Russians are coming out with the new currency, and they want to get paid in oil. They want oil to get paid in gold. So it's coming. The only thing I really added was that the Wall Street and the banks don't want us on gold because they have the monopoly on the dollar, and how big of a scam Wall Street is, a bunch of Madoffs to get your money out of the stock market. And they're the problem with why gold's low, is they're keeping the price down, because if everybody jumps into gold, guess what? You don't need stocks. You don't need bonds. You don't need money in the bank. You need a little bit of money in the bank to make your transactions, to go get your pig's ears and your Chinese food. But otherwise, you don't know who'd want 50,000 in the bank. I want it in gold in my safe. I don't want it in the bank, and I don't want it in cash. That's worthless. Bobby, imagine if Prime wins outright. Now you're drinking the Kool-Aid. I got tied up earlier with some unexpected BS. Yep. What time is class tomorrow? And got to get blood work in the morning. Are you okay? Are you feeling okay? Class will be about noon. So basically, I've been getting up by 10:30. I'm off to the pool. I did a nice workout in the pool, but I also ride the bike. And then I take a hot tub, and then I come home. I got to go to the grocery store. I'm running out of fruit and veggies, and then I got to pack up my computer. I got 2 screens and my laptop, so I got to send it back to Harley. So they sent me these boxes in bubble wrap, and I said, I don't have any fucking tape to tape the boxes back or to tape. I'm just going to put it in, and I'll call UPS to come pick it up. I said, I don't want to hurt my back and take them out to the car and try to find a UPS. I'll see if there's a close one. I might do that, but just charge Harley and fuck them. They fucked me over. I'm in no, I ain't doing them any favors. I'll return the stuff. It's not mine, but I'm taking my time on it. So I just got to box that up. Otherwise, then I got to go to the grocery store, and I think I need I need peppers and mushrooms and let's see. I made steaks yesterday. I have a steak left to eat and some salad. So I need a lot of my veggies and like another cantaloupe and stuff like that. But now that I make the ginger, I get the ginger root. It lasts me like a week. I shave it down. I put it in a pan and I put the hot water in and I at least leave it in for like a week. So I have a lot of ginger root and cinnamon. I buy my spices pretty good. But anyway, so that's about it. Tomorrow we'll look at the pros. Some interesting. So we've got Shaquan Barkley for the Giants is out, and Chubb is for Cleveland out. They both Chubb broke his leg. Barkley, I think, his ankle. So they're both gone. As far as I know, I'm not seeing any other major injuries. And then I'm figuring like Houston's the worst team in the league, closely behind Arizona, Detroit, the Giants, Carolina. I mean, there's a bunch of real bad teams. And then Chicago. And then you have a few good teams like Dallas and the Niners, the Eagles. Well, the Eagles, I don't even know. Their defense isn't holding up. And then that's about it. Baltimore's okay. The Jets, good under team. Buffalo, we'll see. Cincinnati, Burrow, I think his calf's still bothering him. So his calf's bothering him. So he's not 100%, I don't think. So we'll have to see. Anyway, is this a scam? So I keep getting this text. The USPS package has arrived at the warehouse and cannot be delivered due to incomplete address information. I didn't own. The only thing I got was the boxes from Harley. I didn't order. I'm not expecting a package. The U.S. Postal. So would the U.S. Postal Service use this number and send this, or is this a scam? I think it's a scam. I got a number I can try calling, but I don't see how this is real. I don't have a package coming to me. So I think if I click on the link, I give a virus into my phone or something like that. This is the problem with these texts. They're all bullshit. So I'll try to call this number and see what happens. If my phone explodes, then anyway, so I'm looking. So I looked really hard into college, got that down pretty good. Tomorrow we'll look at the pros and really try to avoid, the bad quarterbacks the problem is they run. So even though Richardson sucks and can't complete a 5-yard pass, he runs. So does Jones from New York. And they make Joshua Dobbs look good for Tennessee. So they make them all look good, even though they can't hit the broadside of a barn because they're running. So now they're scoring touchdowns and fucking up my unders. So I have made my adjustments where either you're a running quarterback or you're like Stafford and Herbert and Mahomes, where you don't run, Russell Wilson, and you're more pocket, and I'll go from there. Anyway, I think that's it. www.teaserking.com. Again, class will be about 12 tomorrow. Figure around 12, 12:30, somewhere in that neighborhood. All right, everybody, www.teaserking.com. 2 locks posted, several games that will be posted very soon. I'm taking my time, making sure we go have a real strong week. All right, everybody, take care. Thank you. You're welcome, Bobby.